recovering from third wave of Corona, still I request all of you to keep precautions and follow some standard operating procedures. So I request all of you to regularly sanitize your hands, keep wearing mask, and also follow social distancing norms. These are the must for and need of an hour. So I urge all of you to follow them. And also Union Budget 2022 is round the corner, and we can expect some relief to taxpayers and also some relief to COVID impacted sectors as well. So let's hope we get a growth oriented budget in line with India's vision of 5 trillion economy by 2025. And with optimism, let's also hope that we do not see any wave of Corona any further. As professional arena of CA profession is very wide, as you all know, and we are helping you explore each and every parameter of those arena. And to justify the same, today we are bringing to you a live webinar on gearing up for annual filing, annual returns, where we're going to cover each and every aspect for annual returns for various body corporates. I hope and I believe that knowledge shared today will be really helpful for our professionals in their offices to expand their profession as well. So I can see that many of the people have started already joining, and these people are none other than chartered accountants, company secretaries, and tax professionals and consultants. So thank you so much, first of all, for showing such a good enthusiasm to all of us. And we are really delightful looking to your love and support. It keeps driving us to try our best and to keep you updated and improve each and every day at what we do. But still, I'll beg a minute or so of each and every one of you. So, because we want our other friends as well to join. As you all know that Optotax is a family of professionals from all over India who are coming together for mutual empowerment and benefits. And we recently organized a webinar on demystifying real estate transactions. It was a 3 days webinar which covered income tax, GST, and RERA implications on real estate. It was seriously a session full of learning. And to all of those who are foreseeing their future in the area of real estate can go and watch it as per your convenience, because it is easily available on our Optotax YouTube channel. So if you like the content, please like it, and also you can just share it or subscribe it, because you don't want to miss our regular and knowledgeable updates as well. So hello Arunji, how are you? Good evening. Good evening to all of you again once again. I hope everything is good at your family as well. And now beginning with our today's session, which is brought to you by Optotax, which might have stepped into many of our professionals' offices already, but I'll take a minute or so to brief about it to all of you. Like, we are a technology and knowledge platform, and we in our journey have always tried to make your compliances in respect of GST seamless and hassle-free. It has been engineered for your empowerment and benefit. Optotax is India's #1 and biggest GST platform. We are now a family of 50,000 plus tax professionals who trust Optotax for their 1 million plus clients. So I hope there's no harm giving it a try, because it is totally free and efficient. So do give it a try. Good evening, Tusharji. Hope everything is good at your home. Good evening, Subhashish ji. Glad you are here with us today. Okay, moving on. Now, coming back to today's topic, we are going to dilute complexities in filing annual return with ROC. It is gearing up for ROC annual filing, annual return 2020-21. And it will be summed up by our faculty for today, none other than CA Ujjwal Jindal ji. He is a first-class commerce graduate from Delhi University and an associate company secretary and a practicing chartered accountant. He has also done investment foundation program certified from the CFA Institute and completed various courses related to finance, valuation, accounting, taxation, budgeting, corporate law, auditing, management accounting, strategic management, other legal and allied matters from renowned universities and institutes located around the globe. He is also a founder at UJ & Co. Chartered Accountants and co-founder at UJ Legal LLP, and is experienced in the field of direct and indirect tax laws, corporate allied laws, and capital markets as well. He is also a content writer at Taxman, C Club India, Tax Guru, newsletters and journals of ICI and ICSI, etc. And also a speaker, consultant, and tax expert with various platforms. So obviously, it's our utmost pleasure that we get to share this virtual stage and platform with such a young and multi-dynamic personality like you with us today. And I and all our viewers, all the tax professionals, really looking forward to hear this kind deliberation from you, because we all know in advance that it will be a session full of knowledge and deliberated with full justification. So we are really excited. Thank you so much that we get this opportunity, that we are today sharing this stage with you. And I feel that most of the professionals have joined us already. So let's uh, not take much more time of them, and I'll just straightforward hand the stage to you for your deliberation. So handing it over to you, so you can start with any of the opening remarks.
Thank you so much, Rohit, for the wonderful introduction. And I thank Optotax once again for inviting me for a session to be taken on annual returns. The complexities, filing status, and the compliances are rising day after day, and it is no less for the ROC compliances as well. Otherwise, we all professionals are focusing basically on the taxation part. But now ROC is something that is also requiring the same amount of attention for everybody, for each professional, not only just company secretaries, but I would also say that it is utmost importance even to the chartered accountants as well. Because all the lining, the everything, the balance sheets, the transactions that we do, that have to be not only in line with the Income Tax Act or GST, but they have to also be in line with the Companies Act or the LLP Act. Today, in this particular session, we are gearing up for the ROC compliances, as the ROC filing is around the corner in February, as the due dates have already been extended for some type of entities, but for others already, like for LLPs, it has already been elapsed. So what we are trying to do is, yes, I'm not missing the cost accountants as well. When I say CS, I included both chartered accountants and cost accountants equally. So it is of utmost importance for one and all, even for the advocates too, because they are also licensed to do various kinds of MCA jobs, and also they are looking after various compliances that are in line with the Companies Act and the LLP Act. So yes, in a nutshell, I should say it is important for all the professionals. So today we are basically going to understand what actually is annual return as per the Companies Act. Also, we'll be covering the provision of LLP Acts. We'll also see the regulations and the rules, the circulars, the notifications that have came back in time. Also, we would be analyzing the complexity that every professional faces while filing these forms. So a live demo of the filing would be given, and also the forms as it is, like, because it is the first time that we are seeing MGT 7A, that is an abridged form for small companies and OPCs. So for this financial year, it has came up for the very first time. So we'll also be focusing on that particular e-form. Also, the forms for LLP, that is LLP 11, will be covering that. Our primary focus and sole focus would be on annual return. We are not taking up for the financial statements or the statement of solvency that we file. That is, we are not covering AOC 4. We are not covering AOC 4 CFS or XBRL. We are also not covering LLP 8. So it is solely the annual return part. So all the queries that we come across should be all focused upon the annual return component only. And I'll make it very sure that all your queries that have been in past are very well dissolved, and there is nothing left that you guys have to face for. So quickly starting up with the presentation. Let me start up my presenter. Just give me a moment. I'll try that this session should be completed within 1 hour, but for the data that I have compiled for, or whatever provisions we are going to study, I guess even 1.5 hour would be shorter. But I'll definitely leave up time for the queries at the end for 5 to 10 minutes, so that all the queries that are coming up are absorbed. So don't worry for the queries part as well. We'll be definitely taking them up. And I'll be quickly going through the provisions, because I guess provisions are something that everyone must be knowing in detail already, because all are professionals, but we'll be going through all of them. But our primary focus would be on the practical question. Okay. So starting up, these are my brief details. You can save up these details also at the end of the session. I'll be sharing up. So we are entering the scope and coverage of the today's session. So our primary pillars would be the first, annual return and its interpretation of its purpose, that why do we need an annual return. Secondly, would be the in-depth analysis of the provisions of the Companies Act, as I stated, along with the Company Rules 2014 and notified secretarial standard issued by the Institute of Company Secretaries of India that are relating to annual return. So this is the very first time that, because we are also covering these secretarial standards, because 2 standards have already been notified. There are in total SS1 and SS2 that would be relevant for the discussion. But because SS2 is the primary driver, so we have covered that also in the discussion relating to the annual return. Third would be the in-depth analysis relating to the Limited Liability Partnership Act, that 2008, along with the LLP rules 2009 that are relating to the annual return. Again, we'll be seeing the various annual return forms that are required to be filed with the ROC by various entities for the financial year 2020-2021. That is for the previous financial year, for which the filing is due in the month of February. So we'll be covering all that. So it is also like of a good like it is primarily focused towards the annual filing that have to be done for the previous financial year, that is due in the month of February. So, and second last, we'll be covering the diluting the complexities that are in filing the annual return with the ROC. So we'll be decoding those technicalities that usually arise when we are filing for the returns. And at the end, we'll be taking up the question and answers. Okay. So this would be the entire scope and coverage of our today's session. Starting with the first point, that is the annual return and its purpose. So what do we understand by the term annual return? So this particular term has not been defined anywhere, or there is no particular definition of this particular word. So we are focusing on the corporate meaning, because what we do while filing the annual return, and we'll be simultaneously finding out its purpose. Ki iska purpose kya hai basically whenever we are filing the annual return. So it has been defined by various people differently. So what I have done is I have sourced various things that have came across, be it in the books, be it in the Google, so that what annual return is. So basically annual return means a document that contains the details of the company's share capital, its indebtedness, directors, shareholders, change in directorship, corporate governance disclosures, etc. So these are some things that while filing the form, you come across in the form. So that becomes its definition. Secondly, we see that annual return is a publicly available document, because you can get this particular document by paying the certified copy fee to the ROC, or you can also view this document in a public inspection by paying the adequate fees. So this is a public document. It is not something that the company has a right to keep it with itself only. All the shareholders or even the different stakeholders can view this particular form. So it's a publicly available document prepared by company every year, because it's an annual compliance. The information available is at the close of the financial year. So close of the financial year for the previous financial year is 31st March 2021. So uske liye ye annual return ka form jo hoga, that would remain relevant. To be filed with the registrar, we know even for the LLPs, we are filing it with the registrar. Even for the companies, we are filing with for the registrar, depending upon where the location of the company is located. So it is not a financial document in any case. Rather, it contains general information about the company, its members, activity, and other useful information. It is required to be prepared by every company. So be it an OPC, be it a producer company, be it a Nidhi company, be it a private limited company, public limited company, any foreign company, be it dormant company, be it any form of company. So all companies are one and like filing this particular annual return with the ROC. So annual return is an yearly statement. ये हमें clear हो चुका है, required to be filed by every company irrespective of its nature or status, which highlights the information about company's various aspects pertaining to its composition, activities, and its financial position. Also financial position यहाँ पे इसलिए लिखा है because there are certain disclosures related to finance that are there in the MGT 7, MGT 7A or LLP 11. So that is why financial position के बारे में भी कुछ टर्नओवर हो सकता है, पेड अप कैपिटल हो सकता है, कुछ भी हो सकता है, उसके बारे में वो आपको बताता है. Annual return is not a tax return. It is simply a corporate law requirement, and every entity is legally obligated to file this return with ROC. The companies and the LLP Act mandates to put information in the annual return as on the last date of the financial year, irrespective of the information stood on the date of AGM. तो एजीएम की डेट रेलेवेंट नहीं है, क्लोज ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर के बेसिस पे ही हम लोग एनुअल रिटर्न को बनाते हैं और उनके डिस्क्लोजर्स को फाइल करते हैं. सो दिस इज वेरी क्लियर दैट फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल इट इज एनुअल स्टेटमेंट. एनुअली यू हैव टू फाइल अप फॉर ऑल डिटेल्स. इट इज नॉट अ टैक्स स्टेटमेंट. इट इज अ कॉर्पोरेट लॉ रिक्वायरमेंट और अ स्टैट्यूटरी रिक्वायरमेंट. Again, it is gives detail about the all the activities that have happened as on the last date of the financial year, that is 31st of March for all the companies. So let's quickly move. We are done with the annual return and its purpose. Purpose ये हो गया, आपको ROC को हर साल अपने affairs के बारे में बताना है, that whatever is happening in your company should be at least communicated to the registrar of companies. पहले के टाइम में we have seen like whenever the past season came for the filings and everything, that people were not much bothered about annual returns. मतलब कम emphasis था कि इसे तो कौन check करता है. But I must say, जब से हम लोगों के स्टैट्यूटरी रिक्वायरमेंट्स कंपनीज एक्ट 2013 आया है, साथ में LLP एक्ट भी, अब अमेंडमेंट भी आ रही है, नया एक्ट भी हमारे सामने जल्दी आ जाएगा. सो आई रियली फील दैट देयर इज अ नीड दैट ऑल द प्रोफेशनल्स शुड फोकस वन एंड लॉन्ग ऑन ऑल द प्रोविजंस ऑफ द कंपनीज एक्ट एंड आल्सो द LLP एक्ट. सो यहाँ पे अगेन स्पेशलाइजेशन का क्वेश्चन शायद बहुत जल्दी हम लोगों के सामने आने वाला है, एंड वी नीड टू फोकस एवरी एस्पेक्ट ऑफ दीज ROC फॉर्म्स बिकॉज पेनल्टीज बहुत भारी होने वाली है. मैं मानता हूं डीक्रिमिनलाइजेशन के प्रोविजंस आ गए हैं कंपनीज एक्ट में, जहां पे आप फाइन देके, मतलब इम्प्रिजनमेंट नहीं है बहुत सारे सेक्शंस में अब, बिकॉज सारे प्रोविजंस को डीक्रिमिनलाइज किया जा रहा है, बट देयर आर इंस्टेंसेस जहां पे द फाइन्स वुड बी इमेंस. आपका क्लाइंट ये डिसाइड नहीं कर पाएगा कि आप ऑपरेट करें या फिर हम अपनी कंपनी बंद कर दें. सो इट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट दैट टाइमली कंप्लायंसेस आर डन, बिकॉज अदरवाइज आप लोग 200-300 रुपए की फीस देके निकल जाओगे. But or else you'll have to wait for schemes like CFSS or LLPSS कि settlement schemes आए और तब हम लोग निकले, या फिर अब timely compliances करते रहे तो nothing like it. So आज हम लोग यही सब जानने वाले हैं कि कौन कौन से compliances हैं, कैसे कैसे हैं, कब कब करने हैं, कितनी फीस है, लेट फीस वगैरह क्या है. So we'll be analyzing all the provisions in today's session. So moving towards the Companies Act and the company rules. So I have like prepared a flow chart of what is annual return as per the Companies Act. So Companies Act के अंदर we see that there are a total of 29 chapters. पूरे एक्ट को 29 चैप्टर्स में बनाया गया, that is रोमन में 1 to लेके 29. उसके बाद हम देखेंगे हमारे एनुअल रिटर्न से रिलेटेड जो जो चैप्टर्स हैं, तो उसके अंदर से प्राइमरीली हमारे पास चैप्टर 7 निकल के आता है, जो कि है मैनेजमेंट एंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का. It is very clear from the term itself that management and administration is solely focused towards the first limb, that is section 92. उसके अंदर सेक्शन 92 है एंड उसके अंदर है एनुअल रिटर्न. सो प्राइमरीली जो भी कंपनीज एक्ट का डिस्कशन होता है रिलेटेड टू एनुअल रिटर्न, इट इज जीरो इन ऑन द सेक्शन 92. सो दैट इज द प्राइमरी ड्राइवर. सेकेंडली वी कम अक्रॉस चैप्टर 12. So chapter 22. Chapter 22, that is for the companies incorporated outside India. So they are the foreign companies. तो फॉरेन कंपनीज के केस में भी हमें एनुअल रिटर्न फाइल करनी होती है, दैट इज एज पर सेक्शन 384 सबसेक्शन 2. सो 384 सबसेक्शन 2 ऑफ द कंपनीज एक्ट में फॉरेन कंपनीज की एनुअल रिटर्न हम लोग कैसे ROC के साथ फाइल करेंगे, सो उसके डिस्क्लोजर्स हमारे पास हैं. थर्ड एक और टाइप की कंपनी आती है चैप्टर 24 के अंदर, और उसका नाम है मिसलेनियस, यानी कोई स्पेसिफिक हेड नहीं है, इसके अंदर मिसलेनियस प्रोविजंस हैं. एंड उसके अंदर हमारे पास निकल के आता है देयर इज वन सेक्शन कॉल्ड सेक्शन 455. 455 defines dormant company and all the provisions that govern the dormant company. So इन तीन टाइप की एंटिटीज के बारे में if we see that first is all the companies, second focusing on the foreign company, and third is dormant company. So इन तीनों की इन तीन क्लासेस की हम लोग कैसे कैसे फाइलिंग करेंगे, that is there in the Companies Act 2013. तो ये हमारा आज का स्कोप ऑफ कवरेज रहेगा. सेकेंडली एनुअल रिटर्न हम देखेंगे कंपनी रूल्स के हिसाब से. इन्हीं चैप्टर्स के आगे हम लोग देखेंगे कि कंपनीज एक्ट के बाद कंपनी रूल्स डिफाइंड है, एंड कंपनी रूल्स आर आल्सो डिफाइंड चैप्टर वाइज. सो आप देखेंगे कंपनी रूल्स के अंदर भी देयर आर चैप्टर्स, चैप्टर 7, चैप्टर 22 एंड चैप्टर 24 पार्ट 2. तो 29 पार्ट 2, उसके अंदर हम लोगों ने ये सारे प्रोविजन देखे हैं. रूल 11 लिखा है, उसके अंदर एनुअल रिटर्न के बारे में लिखा है. Rule 12 is for filing of annual return with registrar. Then 15.3 is for preservation of the annual return. Then Rule 16 is for copies of annual return. Rule 7, as per Chapter 22 of the rules, is annual return again. And Rule 29, Part 2, miscellaneous, that relates to return of the dormant company. So, in a nutshell, these rules are also to be read with the Companies Act. So, I have also included them in the coverage. Third limb, जो हम लोग इस बार include कर रहे हैं specifically, that are the secretarial standards of the institute. There is nothing new as per act ही है that are going through. तो हम SS2 के ऊपर फोकस करेंगे, that is related to journal meeting. And उसके अंदर डिस्क्लोजर में बेसिकली ये लिखा that the annual return of the company shall disclose the date of the AGM held during the financial year. So आप कोई सा भी फॉर्म भर रहे हैं उसमें आप ऑलरेडी जो अपनी AGM की डेट है वो तो ऑलरेडी मेंशन करते हैं as per the requirement of the form. The only exception being OPC, one person company, because एक person खुद से AGM नहीं कर सकता. So OPC is an exception कि उसकी AGM applicable ही नहीं होती है उसके ऊपर. Otherwise all entities have to conduct one AGM, and वो AGM की जो date होगी that has to be mandatorily disclosed in the annual return form. वो आपके ऊपर कोई भी applicable होगा, उसकी applicability के बारे में हम लोग पढ़ेंगे. सो SS2 जो है या हमारा SS1 है, इसकी जो एप्लीकेबिलिटी फ्लो हुई थी सेक्शन 118 सब सेक्शन 10 से फ्लो हुई थी. उसके अंदर लिखा गया था दैट एवरी कंपनी शुड ऑब्जर्व the secretarial standard with respect to general SS2 general meetings and board meetings specified by the Institute of Company Secretaries. So these are basically notified secretarial standard. जैसे हम लोग अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स को फॉलो करते हैं, सेम वे हम लोग कंपनीज एक्ट के अंदर साथ में हम लोग सेक्रेटरियल स्टैंडर्ड्स को भी फॉलो करते हैं. But more or less, secretarial standards I have seen, they are more or like a picture of the Companies Act along with the company rules. So there is no much of stance in it in them. मतलब they are obviously based on the laws only because आप उससे हटके नहीं जा सकते. But फिर भी कुछ specific चीजें ऐसी हैं जो आपको definitely cover करनी ही करनी है. So secretarial जो standards होते हैं ये इन सारे aspects को cover करते हैं for sure. तो ये हमारा रहेगा आज कंपनीज एक्ट एंड कंपनी रूल्स का डिस्कशन. अब हम कंपनीज एक्ट के प्रोविजन से एक एक करके शुरू करते हैं. सबसे पहला आ रहा है सेक्शन 92, दैट इज द एनुअल रिटर्न. ये हमने चैप्टर 7 में देखा था मैनेजमेंट एंड एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में कंपनीज एक्ट के, एंड वी आर बिगिनिंग विद इट. सो वी सी दैट एवरी कंपनी शैल प्रिपेयर अ रिटर्न हियर इन आफ्टर रेफर टू एज द एनुअल रिटर्न इन द प्रिस्क्राइब्ड फॉर्म. जहां भी प्रिस्क्राइब्ड फॉर्म लिखा रहेगा इसका मतलब वी हैव टू रेफर द कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग रूल, और इसका कॉरेस्पॉन्डिंग रूल है दैट इज रूल 11. तो अभी रूल 11 में भी आएंगे हम लोग. सो कंटेनिंग द पर्टिकुलर्स एज दे स्टूड ऑन द क्लोज ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर. यहाँ पे इंपॉर्टेंट वर्ड्स हैं, क्लोज ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर. मैं एक मिस्टेक ऐसी बताऊंगा जो 80% प्रोफेशनल्स जिनको मैं जानता हूँ वो कर रहे हैं, कमिट कर रहे हैं. हो सकता है आप भी वो मिस्टेक कमिट कर रहे हो. तो आज हम लोग उस मिस्टेक के बारे में तो डेफिनेटली देयर वुड बी वन टेक अवे फ्रॉम दिस सेशन दैट वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू कमिट दिस पर्टिकुलर मिस्टेक जो कि क्लोज ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर से रिलेटेड है. बिकॉज एक ऐसी चीज है जो कि प्रीफिल की वजह से आती है और प्रीफिल की वजह से हम उसे हमेशा मिस कर जाते हैं. अब मैं अभी आपको थोड़ा सेशन हमारा आगे चलता है तो डेफिनेटली जैसे हम फॉर्म ओपन करते हैं तो मैं आपको वो चीज दिखाऊंगा. तो हमें क्लोज ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर पे जो इन्फॉर्मेशन है वो देनी है दैट आर पर्टेनिंग टू इट्स रजिस्टर्ड ऑफिस, प्रिंसिपल बिजनेस एक्टिविटीज, particulars of its holding subsidiary and associate company, shares and debentures, other security, shareholding pattern, its members, debenture holders along with changes. भाई कुछ सिक्योरिटीज अगर नए लोगों ने लिया, पुरानों ने बेची है, उनकी सारी डिटेल्स, क्योंकि रिकॉर्ड अपडेट होता है डिपेंडिंग अपॉन क्लोज ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर पे. उसके बाद प्रमोटर्स, डायरेक्टर्स, KMPs along with changes therein since the close of the financial year. उसके बाद we'll also see the remuneration that is paid to the directors and KMP, meeting of member or class of members of the board and its various committees along with their attendances. पेनल्टी और पनिशमेंट अगर कंपनी के ऊपर कोई आई हो या फिर डायरेक्टर्स के बारे में आई हो तो उसको अभी डिटेल डिस्क्लोजर जाएगा. और इस पनिशमेंट और पेनल्टी को अगर कंपनी ने अपील किया हुआ है या फिर इसे पे कर दिया है तो उसके डिटेल डिस्क्लोजर्स भी वहां पे आएंगे. एंड वी विल आल्सो कवर द मैटर रिलेटिंग टू सर्टिफिकेशन ऑफ कंप्लायंसेस डिस्क्लोजर्स एज मे बी प्रिस्क्राइब्ड. तो ये भी हम रूल 11 के अंदर देखेंगे अभी ये क्या क्या होते हैं. उसके बाद डिटेल्स एज मे बी प्रिस्क्राइब्ड इन रिस्पेक्ट ऑफ शेयर हेल्ड बाय और ऑन बिहाफ ऑफ द फॉरेन इंस्टीट्यूशनल इन्वेस्टर. तो इसके लिए स्पेसिफिक डिस्क्लोजर जाता है, वो वाला भी आपका एनुअल रिटर्न के अंदर जाएगा. सच अदर मैटर्स एज मे बी प्रिस्क्राइब्ड. अब ये वाला जो सेक्शन या पॉइंट होता है यूजुअली जब हम कहते हैं इसमें सब कुछ आ जाएगा, तो इसके अंदर एक्चुअली बहुत कुछ आता है. और अगर आप फॉर्म के अंदर भी देखेंगे तो ऑप्शनल अटैचमेंट्स करके एक सेक्शन छोड़ दिया जाता है. उसके अंदर आता है कि डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द टाइम ऑफ कंप्लायंस, द चेंजिंग एनवायरनमेंट, जैसे हम लोग इस टाइम पे ऑब्जर्व कर रहे हैं दैट द AGM डेट्स हैव बीन एक्सटेंडेड, फाइलिंग पीरियड हैज बीन एक्सटेंडेड. तो वो सारे डिस्क्लोजर्स, अनाउंसमेंट्स, नोटिफिकेशंस जो भी जाएंगे वो आपका अदर मैटर्स प्रिस्क्राइब्ड का पार्ट बन जाएगा ऑटोमेटिकली. सो दे आर टू बी फाइल्ड विद द एनुअल रिटर्न. कैसे फाइल करेंगे इस बार का भी देखेंगे. जो एक्सटेंशन ऑर्डर आ रखा है जैसे AGM का, तो उसे भी हमें फाइल करना है. कैसे फाइल होगा, कहाँ फाइल होगा, आई लेट यू नो ईच एंड एवरीथिंग. तो इसके बाद हम लोग देते हैं कि एनुअल रिटर्न जो है दैट हैज टू बी साइंड बाय द डायरेक्टर एंड कंपनी सेक्रेटरी. अब यहाँ पे आप वर्ड देखिए तो यहाँ पे लिखा है एंड कंपनी सेक्रेटरी, यानी डायरेक्टर भी करेगा एंड कंपनी सेक्रेटरी भी करेगा. और वेयर देयर इज नो कंपनी सेक्रेटरी बाय अ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी इन प्रैक्टिस, यानी इसका मतलब है डायरेक्टर और कंपनी सेक्रेटरी को ये पर्टिकुलर एनुअल रिटर्न जो है ये साइन करनी है। अगर कंपनी के पास एम्प्लॉयड कंपनी सेक्रेटरी है, यानी कंपनी सेक्रेटरी इन एम्प्लॉयमेंट है, यानी आपके ऊपर प्रोविजंस लगते हैं जिसकी वजह से आपको कंपनी सेक्रेटरी अपने कंपनी में एज एन एम्प्लॉय DIR फाइल करके फॉर्म उसे रखना होता है, तो तब तो आप एक डायरेक्टर से करा लेंगे एंड एक उस कंपनी सेक्रेटरी से करा लेंगे। लेकिन अगर आपके ऊपर वो नॉर्म्स नहीं लगते हैं, वो रूल्स नहीं लगते हैं, यानी आपको कंपनी सेक्रेटरी अपॉइंट करना मैंडेटरी रिक्वायर्ड नहीं है, तो उस केस में आप फिर कंपनी सेक्रेटरी होल टाइम प्रैक्टिस वाले से उस ई फॉर्म को सर्टिफाई कराएंगे। सर्टिफाई कैसे होता है, फॉर्म में कैसा दिखता है, मैं वो भी सब कुछ बताने वाला हूँ। हाउएवर सारे प्रोफेशनल्स हैं, आई एम श्योर दिस इज नॉट द फर्स्ट रिटर्न सीजन बिकॉज ऑल स्टूडेंट्स हैव आल्सो जॉइंड अस आई गेस, तो उन लोगों के लिए तो एक न्यू एक्सपीरियंस रह सकता है, बट फॉर द प्रोफेशनल्स दे नो कि सर्टिफिकेशन कैसे होती है, उसका यूडिन भी जनरेट करना होता है, एटसेट्रा एटसेट्रा। तो वो हम लोग सब आगे अभी अपनी जो डिस्कशन होती है उसके अंदर देखते हैं, बट अभी के लिए ये जानना जरूरी है कि हमें एक डायरेक्टर और एक कंपनी सेक्रेटरी से, दोनों से उसे फॉर्म को सर्टिफाई या फिर साइन कराना। नेक्स्ट चलते हैं हम लोग, ये सबसेक्शन 1 था। अब ये सबसेक्शन जो ये सेक्शन 92 है यही चल रहा है हमारे पास, और अगर आप देखो यहाँ पे नोट करो तो हम लोगों ने अभी जो कवर किया है दैट इज सबसेक्शन 1। अब ये सबसेक्शन 1 ही चल रहा है पूरा का पूरा, अभी हम लोग सबसेक्शन 2 पे भी नहीं आए हैं। तो सबसेक्शन 1 में अब हम लोग प्रोवाइजो, फर्स्ट प्रोवाइजो पे आ रहे हैं। तो प्रोवाइडेड दैट इन रिलेशन टू एन OPC एंड स्मॉल कंपनी द एनुअल रिटर्न शैल बी साइंड बाय द कंपनी सेक्रेटरी। अब आप देख रहे हैं यहाँ पे डायरेक्टर हट गया, सिर्फ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी रह गया, or where there is no company secretary by the director of the company. So in cases में आप देख रहे हैं रिलैक्सेशन है ऑन सर्टिफिकेशन, कि अगर आपको कंपनी सेक्रेटरी एम्प्लॉय करना मैंडेटरी है एज पर रूल्स और स्टैट्यूट, तो आपको कंपनी सेक्रेटरी से ही साइन कराना है। लेकिन अगर कंपनी सेक्रेटरी नहीं है तो उस केस में कोई भी डायरेक्टर जो है वो भी साइन कर सकता है, यानी रिलैक्स प्रोविजंस है, सर्टिफिकेशन की रिक्वायरमेंट को मिटिगेट किया गया है और सारे जो कंट्रोल्स हैं वो डायरेक्टर्स के पास ही दे दिए गए फॉर OPCs एंड फॉर स्मॉल कंपनीज। OPCs होती क्या है, स्मॉल कंपनीज होती क्या है, इसके बारे में भी हम लोग डिस्कस करेंगे अभी, इनफैक्ट अभी अगली स्लाइड में ही आएगा उसका डिस्कशन रहेगा। सेकेंड प्रोवाइजो की तरफ बढ़ते हैं, ये इस बार के लिए बहुत जरूरी है। प्रोवाइडेड फर्दर दैट the central government may prescribe a abridged form of annual return for OPCs, small companies and such other class or classes of companies as may be prescribed. So prescribed फिर से आ गया, इसका मतलब we have to go into the rules, but abridged form का क्या मतलब है कि छोटा फॉर्म, यानी MGT 7 नहीं, MGT 7A, ये इस बार नया फॉर्म आया जो कि हम लोगों को स्मॉल कंपनीज और OPCs के लिए फाइल करना है, तो इसके बारे में भी देखेंगे इसमें क्या क्या है, but that is the abridged form of annual return for OPCs and small companies. Secondly, they say that and such other class or classes of company as may be prescribed. So these class or classes of the companies have not been prescribed till now. So what prevails is OPC and small company. तो हम लोग उसी के बारे में अपने डिस्कशन को ऑन रखेंगे। अब हमारे सबसेक्शन 2 की तरफ, यानी 92 सबसेक्शन 2, the annual return filed by a listed company or by a company having such paid up capital and turnover as may be prescribed. अगेन प्रिस्क्राइब्ड आ गया, रूल 11 के अंदर रूल्स जो हैं वो डिनोट करते हैं दैट व्हाट एग्जैक्टली इज द पेड अप कैपिटल एंड टर्नओवर रिक्वायर्ड, या फिर लिस्टेड कंपनी। लिस्टेड कंपनी के केस में तो है ही है, लेकिन अगर किसी की पेड अप कैपिटल इतनी हो और टर्नओवर उतनी हो तो उस केस में भी आपको फाइल करना है एनुअल रिटर्न। किस तरीके से, सर्टिफाइड बाय अ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी इन प्रैक्टिस, यानी उस केस में आपको सर्टिफाइड कराना ही कराना है एनुअल रिटर्न को बाय अ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी इन प्रैक्टिस इन दी प्रिस्क्राइब्ड फॉर्म। यानी यहाँ पे सिर्फ साइन करने की बात नहीं हो रही है, कुछ एक सर्टिफिकेट लेने की बात हो रही है, वो भी एक प्रिस्क्राइब्ड फॉर्म में, stating that the annual returns discloses the fact correctly and adequately and the company has complied with all the provisions of this act. ये एक तरीके से अगर हम देखें तो हम लोग एक ऑडिट रिपोर्ट का तरीका बन गया है, जहां पे उसको नाम दे दिया गया एक सर्टिफिकेट, जहां पे लिखा जाएगा एक प्रैक्टिसिंग कंपनी सेक्रेटरी द्वारा कि द कंपनी इज फॉलोइंग ऑल द कंप्लायंसेस, ऑल द डिस्क्लोजर्स दैट आर रिक्वायर्ड इन द फाइलिंग ऑफ द एनुअल रिटर्न। और ये बन गया एक रास्ता और एक प्रोफेशनल्स के लिए, यानी कंपनी सेक्रेटरीज के लिए पैसा कमाने का, बिकॉज जहां पे सर्टिफिकेशन आती है वहां पे हम लोग प्रोफेशनल के जो राइट्स होते हैं वो बढ़ जाते हैं, इंपॉर्टेंस बढ़ जाती है, एंड इंक्रीमेंटली हम लोग वहां पैसा कमाते हैं। बट दी ओनली कंसर्न इज ये किन किन सेगमेंट की कंपनीज के लिए, एक तो आप देखिए लिस्टेड कंपनीज के लिए जहां पे ऑलरेडी कंपनी सेक्रेटरी होते हैं, लेकिन यहाँ पे आपको इंडिपेंडेंट कंपनी सेक्रेटरी इन प्रैक्टिस से कराना, सो दिस इज गुड फॉर द कंपनी सेक्रेटरीज हु आर इन प्रैक्टिस। सेकेंडली, वो क्लास और क्लासेस ऑफ कंपनीज जो कि रूल 11 में डिफाइंड है, जिनकी पेड अप कैपिटल इतनी है या फिर जिनकी टर्नओवर इतनी है। कितनी कितनी है रूल 11 में, अभी आप आएंगे कंपनी रूल्स पे तो हम लोग रूल 11 में देखते हैं कि कितना है, बट आपको एक अलग से सर्टिफिकेट लेना है। सस्पेंस ब्रेक करने के लिए बता देता हूँ, ये सर्टिफिकेट का नाम है MGT 8। अभी तक एनुअल रिटर्न MGT 7 चल रहा है, इस सर्टिफिकेट का नाम है MGT 8। MGT 8 कैसा दिखता है, क्या उसका फॉर्म होता है, वो भी हम लोग आज देखेंगे। नेक्स्ट सबसेक्शन 3 पे आते हैं। एवरी कंपनी शैल प्लेस अ कॉपी ऑफ द एनुअल रिटर्न ऑन द वेबसाइट ऑफ द कंपनी इफ एनी, एंड द वेब लिंक ऑफ सच एनुअल रिटर्न शैल बी डिस्क्लोज इन द बोर्ड रिपोर्ट। ये बेसिकली अगर हम देखें तो ये जो वेब लिंक और एनुअल रिटर्न है, ये कंपनी को अपनी जो वेबसाइट है उसके ऊपर पब्लिश करना होगा, एंड जो कंपनी की वेबसाइट रहेगी उसके ऊपर इस चीज को पूरा डिटेल में बताना पड़ेगा कि कितनी मीटिंग्स करी, कितना सब कुछ हुआ। सो एवरीथिंग वुड बी इन डिटेल, जो कि आप MGT 7 में फाइल करेंगे। ये सारा डिस्क्लोजर जो है ये MGT 9 में जाता था पहले। अभी देखते हैं क्या क्या चेंजेस आए हैं इसके लिए, बट दिस इज द सबसेक्शन 3। नाउ मूविंग टुवर्ड्स द सबसेक्शन 4। लेकिन उससे पहले मैंने आपको बोला था कुछ टर्म्स और डेफिनेशंस देख लेते हैं। जैसे हम OPC का रेफरेंस आया था, स्मॉल कंपनी का रेफरेंस आया, तो चलिए एक बार देख लेते हैं व्हाट दीज आर। सो व्हाट इज 1% कंपनी? मींस अ कंपनी व्हिच हैज ओनली 1% एज इट्स मेंबर। सो मेंबर और डायरेक्टर में एक तो बहुत बड़ा डिस्टिंक्शन है। मेंबर मतलब मालिक और डायरेक्टर मतलब कंपनी के चालक, यानी जो कंपनी को रन करेंगे। सो व्हाट द बेसिक डिफरेंस इज, 1% कंपनी में एक ही इंसान मालिक होगा। ही वुड बी द सोल शेयर होल्डर, ही वुड बी सोल मेंबर, ओनर ऑफ द कंपनी। देयर कैन बी 1 डायरेक्टर, देयर कैन बी 2 डायरेक्टर, देयर कैन बी 3 डायरेक्टर्स, लेकिन जो मेंबर रहेगा वो एक ही रहेगा। दैट इज द प्रीमाइस ऑफ 1% कंपनी। सो ये डेफिनेशन जो है दैट इज इन सेक्शन 2 क्लॉज 62। तो उसी के अकॉर्डिंग हमने उठाया। अब स्मॉल कंपनी देखते हैं। स्मॉल कंपनी मीन्स अ कंपनी अदर दैन अ पब्लिक कंपनी। सो इसका मतलब ये है, पब्लिक कंपनी कैन नेवर बी अ स्मॉल कंपनी। पब्लिक कंपनी चाहे लिस्टेड हो चाहे वो अनलिस्टेड हो, वो कभी स्मॉल कंपनी नहीं बन सकती है। तो स्मॉल कंपनी क्या होती है? जिसका पेड अप कैपिटल ऑफ विच डज नॉट एक्सीड ₹50 लाख। पेड अप कैपिटल डज नॉट एक्सीड 50 लाख। ये लिमिट है 2020-2021 के लिए। 21-22 से बजट ने, जो बजट आया था हमारा 21 का, उसने इस लिमिट को बढ़ा के कर दी है 2 करोड़। लेकिन ये हम देखेंगे इस फाइनेंशियल ईयर और अगले फाइनेंशियल ईयर से। अभी हम बात कर रहे हैं पिछली एनुअल रिटर्न की, यानी 2020-2021 की। सो उसके लिए जो पेड अप कैपिटल का लिमिट है स्मॉल कंपनी की क्लासिफिकेशन के लिए, दैट इज 50 लाख। तो आप जो भी अपने रिटर्न फॉर्म्स क्लाइंट की बनाएंगे, आपको स्मॉल कंपनी के लिए याद रखना है कि जो लिमिट है फॉर अ स्मॉल कंपनीज पेड अप शेयर कैपिटल, दैट इज 50 लाख एंड नॉट 2 करोड़। ठीक है। और सच हायर लिमिट एज मे बी प्रिस्क्राइब्ड विच शैल नॉट बी मोर देन 10 करोड़। तो ये 10 करोड़ का तो मैक्सिमम लिमिट है जो कि सेक्शन में दे रखा है। अभी के लिए गवर्नमेंट ने इसे बढ़ा के 50 लाख से 2 करोड़ कर दिया है फॉर पर्टिकुलर 21-22 एंड ऑनवर्ड्स। पिछले वाले के लिए अभी भी 50 लाख ही है। turnover of which as per profit and loss account for the immediately preceding financial year does not exceed ₹2 crore, ₹20 करोड़ कर दिया गया बढ़ा के 21-22 के लिए। यानी इन दोनों चीजों से पता क्या लगता है, जो इन्होंने बढ़ा दी है लिमिट्स गवर्नमेंट ने, बेसिकली दैट सर्टिफिकेशन का रिक्वायरमेंट कहीं ना कहीं गवर्नमेंट ने मिटिगेट कर दिया। बिकॉज हम लोग देख रहे हैं MGT 7 जो था, यानी जो स्मॉल कंपनीज और OPCs के लिए था, दैट कुड बी फाइल्ड बाय द साइन ऑफ द डायरेक्टर एंड नॉट मैंडेटरी द कंपनी सेक्रेटरी। तो कहीं ना कहीं गवर्नमेंट ने ये लिमिट्स बढ़ा दी हैं। ईज ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस की तरफ सब कुछ जा रहा है। आई डोंट नो व्हाट एक्चुअली इज इन द माइंड ऑफ द गवर्नमेंट, बिकॉज लिमिट्स सारी ही बढ़ी हैं, ऑडिट की भी बढ़ गई हैं, हर चीज की बढ़ गई है, टैक्स ऑडिट की भी बढ़ गई है। तो लेट्स सी फ्यूचर में क्या होता है। बट अभी के लिए, पिछले साल के लिए द लिमिट इज 2 करोड़ एंड 50 लाख फॉर कैपिटल, 2 करोड़ इज फॉर टर्नओवर। और सच हायर अमाउंट एज मे बी प्रिस्क्राइब्ड विच शैल नॉट बी मोर देन 100 करोड़ रुपीज, यानी 100 करोड़ तक की टर्नओवर जा सकती है स्मॉल कंपनी की डेफिनेशन में एज पर द कंपनीज एक्ट। बट हाउएवर अब तक का जो इंक्रीज लिमिट है दैट इज 20 करोड़ एंड दैट विल बी एप्लीकेबल फ्रॉम 21-22। पिछले साल के लिए 2 करोड़ ही देखेंगे। प्रोवाइडेड नथिंग इन दिस क्लॉज शैल अप्लाई टू, जो कुछ भी ऊपर लिखा है वो नहीं अप्लाई करेगा अ होल्डिंग कंपनी और अ सब्सिडरी कंपनी के लिए, या फिर अ कंपनी रजिस्टर्ड अंडर सेक्शन 8, या फिर अ कंपनी और अ बॉडी कॉर्पोरेट गवर्न्ड बाय एनी स्पेशल एक्ट। ये सब कुछ लिखा है सेक्शन 2 क्लॉज 85 के अंदर, स्मॉल कंपनी का पूरा डेफिनेशन। तो बेसिकली जो भी क्लॉजेस हमने ऊपर पढ़े हैं, यानी स्मॉल कंपनी नहीं हो सकती, एक तो पब्लिक कंपनी नहीं हो सकती है, होल्डिंग कंपनी और सब्सिडरी कंपनी नहीं हो सकती है, कंपनी रजिस्टर्ड अंडर सेक्शन 8, और नहीं हो सकती है यानी कंपनी और बॉडी कॉर्पोरेट गवर्न्ड बाय स्पेशल एक्ट। इसके अंदर हम लोग क्या कवर करते हैं गवर्न्ड बाय स्पेशल एक्ट में, यानी मान लीजिए आप कोई इंश्योरेंस कंपनीज हैं, वो एडा के अकॉर्डिंग फंक्शन करती हैं, सो दे बिकम अ कंपनी अंडर स्पेशल एक्ट। अपना इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट ऑफ इंडिया है, बॉडी कॉर्पोरेट है, वर्क्स अकॉर्डिंग टू द इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट्स ऑफ इंडिया एक्ट 1949, वो उसके अकॉर्डिंग फंक्शन करता है। तो ये लोग कभी भी स्मॉल कंपनीज नहीं बन सकते हैं, दे विल ऑलवेज बी द रेगुलर कंपनीज बट नॉट द स्मॉल कंपनी। तो दिस इज जस्ट एन एग्जांपल। ऊपर टर्नओवर का रेफरेंस आया था, तो टर्नओवर की डेफिनेशन भी क्योंकि रिवाइज हुई थी पिछले बजट सेशन से ही, तो उसका भी मैंने कवरेज इसी में सेशन में ही ऐड कर दिया है। तो टर्नओवर मींस द ग्रॉस अमाउंट ऑफ रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्नाइज्ड in the profit and loss account from the sale, supply or distribution of goods or on account of services rendered or both by a company during a financial year. तो ये आपको प्रीसीडिंग ईयर का देखना है इस साल का, यानी अगर आप 2020-2021 के लिए देखेंगे तो आपको 1920 का टर्नओवर देखना पड़ेगा अगर आप डिसाइड कर रहे हैं कि ये स्मॉल कंपनी है या नहीं। तो टर्नओवर आप कैसे देखेंगे, जो कि ग्रॉस अमाउंट ऑफ रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्नाइज्ड रहेगा पीएनएल में, ग्रॉस रेवेन्यू जैसे हम कहते हैं, सेल सप्लाई डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन जिस चीज से भी आ रहा है वो आप देखेंगे और उसकी लिमिट्स को 2 करोड़ के हिसाब से आप इवेल्युएट करेंगे। अगर है तो स्मॉल कंपनी है, अगर उससे नीचे है, अगर उससे ज्यादा है तो स्मॉल कंपनी नहीं है, यानी एमजीडी 7 जाए। तो ये हमारी डिस्कशन हो गई छोटी सी ओपीसी एंड स्मॉल कंपनीज के ऊपर।
उज्जवल सर,
अब आते हैं जी सबसेक्शन 4 पे। So subsection 4 says every company shall file with the registrar a copy of the annual return, that is MGD 7, within 60 days from the date of which the annual general meeting is held, or where no annual general meeting is held in any year within 60 days from the date on which the AGM should have been held, together with the statement specifying the reasons for not holding the AGM with such fees or additional fees as may be prescribed. So AGM से 60 days के अंदर आपको ये पर्टिकुलर फॉर्म को फाइल करना है। अब एजीएम क्या होती है फॉर रेगुलर कंपनीज में कहूंगा तो वो होगी विद इन 6 months फ्रॉम द एंड ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल ईयर, यानी 31 मार्च से 6 months हो गया 30th सितंबर। 30th सितंबर से आपको 60 डेज के अंदर इस फॉर्म को फाइल करना है, यानी अक्टूबर का पूरा महीना आ गया 31 डेज का एंड 29 डेज आपके आ गए नवंबर। सो 29th नवंबर आपके पास लास्ट डेट रहती है यूजुअली आपको अपनी एनुअल रिटर्न फाइल करने की। बट ड्यू टू कोविड ये टाइम लिमिट्स जो है वेरी करी है, हमने एजीएम का भी एक्सटेंशन देखा है, लास्ट टाइम तो ये एक्सटेंशन और ज्यादा था, इस साल भी लाइक पिछले फाइनेंशियल ईयर में भी अगर आप 21 में देखें तो गवर्नमेंट ने इसे 30th सितंबर से जो एजीएम की डेट है इसे बढ़ा के 30th नवंबर कर दिया था। 30th नवंबर से अब 60 डेज की आ गए, अगर कंप्यूटेशन देखें तो दिसंबर के 31 डेज एंड जनवरी के 29 डेज, तो 29 जनवरी थी। लेकिन अगेन 7 प्रोफेशनल्स ने गवर्नमेंट को रिक्वेस्ट किया कि इस डेट को और फर्दर बढ़ाया जाए और इसे बढ़ा के गवर्नमेंट ने 1 महीना और बढ़ा के इसे 28th फरवरी कर दिया। तो अभी करंटली एनुअल रिटर्न फाइल करने की जो डेट है पिछले साल के लिए दैट इज 28th फरवरी। लेकिन अदरवाइज अगर आप देखें तो 29 नवंबर जो है वो हमारा स्टैंडर्ड फॉर्मेट रहा था। अगर कोई नई कंपनी इनकॉर्पोरेट होती है, लाइक मान लीजिए जनवरी 2021 में कंपनी इनकॉर्पोरेट हुई है और मार्च 2022 में वो अपना एनुअल फाइनेंशियल ईयर जो है उसे क्लोज करती है। अब एज पर द एक्ट आपको जो कंपनीज हैं दे कैन क्लोज अ फाइनेंशियल ईयर फॉर अ मंथ फॉर अ टोटल स्पैन ऑफ 15 months, यानी आप एक फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट बना सकते हैं टोटल जो कि 15 महीने की होगी एक्सेप्ट फॉर 12 महीने। ये सिर्फ पहले साल में आपको जब आप न्यूली इनकॉर्पोरेट करते हैं सिर्फ तब ये बेनिफिट मिलता है। तो उस केस के अंदर पहली एजीएम जो आपकी होती है वो विद इन आप 9 months फ्रॉम द क्लोज ऑफ फाइनेंशियल ईयर कर सकते हैं, यानी 31 मार्च 2022 से 9 months आपके आ गए 31 दिसंबर 2022। तो फर्स्ट एजीएम विद इन 9 months होगी, तो उसके 60 डेज बाद आप ये फॉर्म फाइल करेंगे, यानी 60 डेज अगर हम देखें अगेन 31 जनवरी तक पूरा आ गया और उसके बाद 1 मार्च, क्योंकि 28 दिन होते हैं फरवरी में और 1 दिन और, तो 1 मार्च को आपका ड्यू डेट बैठेगा जिस हिसाब से आप फाइल करेंगे। अगर लीप ईयर है तो 29 फरवरी ही आपका अगेन वो टाइम हो जाएगा। बट अदरवाइज ये हमारा क्रक्स है कि 60 डेज का जो साइकिल है इसके अंदर हमें एनुअल रिटर्न फाइल करनी होती है एंड विद इन 60 डेज ऑफ एजीएम फाइल करनी होती है। तो एजीएम सेंट्रिक ये सारा कुछ चलता है। अगर एजीएम ही नहीं कंडक्ट करती है कोई कंपनी तब भी आपको एनुअल रिटर्न जो है वो कम जिस दिन आपकी एजीएम ड्यू हो सकती थी एज पर द एक्ट उसी अकॉर्डिंगली आपको अपना एमजीडी 7 या एनुअल रिटर्न जो है उसे फाइल करना। तो यानी अगर 30th सितंबर को आपने नहीं करी बट आपको करनी थी अकॉर्डिंग टू द एक्ट एज पर 30th सितंबर, तो फिर आप 29 नवंबर को ये फॉर्म फाइल करेंगे जो कि रहेगा एक तरीके से प्रोविजनल फाइलिंग। जब आपकी फाइनल हो जाएगी तो आप फाइनल भी फाइल करेंगे फिर उसके बाद, तो ये सब भी हम लोग देखेंगे फॉर्म के अंदर। अब आ जाते हैं पेनल्टी प्रोविजंस के अंदर, ये सबसेक्शन 5 है हमारा। इफ एनी कंपनी फेल्स टू फाइल इट्स एनुअल रिटर्न अंडर सबसेक्शन 4, यानी अभी हमने सबसेक्शन 4 पढ़ा ऊपर विद इन 60 डेज वाला, बिफोर द एक्सपायरी ऑफ द पीरियड स्पेसिफाइड देयरइन, सच अ कंपनी एंड एवरी ऑफिसर हु इज इन डिफॉल्ट शैल बी लायबल टू अ पेनल्टी ऑफ ₹10,000 and in case of continuing failure with further penalty of ₹100 for each day during which such failure continues, subject to a maximum of ₹2 lakh in case of a company and 50,000 in case of an officer who is in default। तो 2 लाख से लेके 50,000 रुपए तक कंपनी के लिए और डायरेक्टर्स के लिए ये पेनल्टी जाएगी। 10,000 रुपए की पेनल्टी लग सकती है, ₹100 का लेट फीस और पीनल फीस है। ठीक है, अब देखिए पेनल्टीज को गवर्नमेंट ने बहुत अच्छे से डिजाइन कर दिया है। इफ यू आर नॉट फाइलिंग द एनुअल रिटर्न विद इन टाइम तो ₹100 तो आपका पर डे जा ही रहा है। ऑफिसर के ऊपर 10,000 से लेकर 50,000 तक की लायबिलिटी आ जाएगी और ₹2 लाख की मैक्सिमम लायबिलिटी जो है वो कंपनी पे आ सकती है। सो हाउ इंपॉर्टेंट हैज बीन दिस एनुअल रिटर्न काइंडली अंडरस्टैंड दिस कि हम लोगों को अब सारे कंप्लायंसेस जो ROC के हैं उसके ऊपर भी बराबर फोकस करना है. वी आर नॉट ओनली गोइंग टू बी सेंट्रिक अबाउट taxations, we have to give equal focus and equal emphasis to the corporate side as well, the corporate act as well. Next हम लोग मूव करते हैं सबसेक्शन 6 की तरफ, जो कि मुझे सबसे खतरनाक सबसेक्शन लगता है बिकॉज ये प्रैक्टिसिंग प्रोफेशनल के ऊपर लायबिलिटी डालता है. सो इफ अ कंपनी सेक्रेटरी इन प्रैक्टिस सर्टिफाइज द एनुअल रिटर्न अदरवाइज देन इन कंफर्मिटी विद द रिक्वायरमेंट्स ऑफ द सेक्शन और द रूल्स मेड देयरइन, ही शैल बी लायबल टू अ पेनल्टी ऑफ 2 लाख. यानी अगर वो कोई सर्टिफिकेट देता है MGT 8 में या फिर MGT 7 को सर्टिफाई कर देता है, बट जो ऊपर की डिटेल्स होते हैं, फैक्ट्स होते हैं, वो एज पर वर्किंग पेपर्स नहीं होते, तो उस केस के अंदर इवन प्रोफेशनल कैन बी लायबल टू पे 2 लाख रुपीस ऑफ पेनल्टी. तो कंपनी सेक्रेटरी इन प्रैक्टिस शुड बी वेरी मच कॉन्शियस एंड शुड बी वेरी मच विजिलेंट व्हाइल साइनिंग दीज पर्टिकुलर रिफॉर्म्स बिकॉज लायबिलिटी कंपनी एक्ट के हिसाब से आपके ऊपर भयंकर आती है. तो 2 लाख रुपीस की कंपनी सेक्रेटरी पे एंड डायरेक्टर्स के ऊपर तो ऑलरेडी मैंने बता दिया 10 से 50,000, एंड कंपनी के ऊपर 100 रुपए पर डे से लेकर 2 लाख रुपए की मैक्सिमम पेनल्टी, ये सब चलेगी ही चलेगी. ये हम यहाँ पे कंप्लीट करते हैं अपना सेक्शन 92. अब सेक्शन 92 के रूल्स पे आ जाते हैं. वी हैव बीन डिस्कसिंग अबाउट. Yes.
Ujjwal sir, actually receiving comments from some professionals to continue in English because there might be some who don't understand Hindi.
Okay, sure. So I'll be continuing in English only. I was just using Hindi, English, so basically everybody could connect. But okay, we'll be moving 100% in English now. So we are moving towards Rule 11 that we have been discussing in the previous provisions, Section 92, that Rule 11 is for annual return. So what we have to see in annual return is every company shall file its annual return in form number MGT 7, except 1% company OPC and small company. So all the companies that are required to file this particular annual return form, so they have to file MGT 7. The only exception lies with the OPCs and small companies, that is the abridged form. And what is the name of that particular abridged form? We have come to know that it's MGT 7A. And for the first time, this MGT 7A will be filed from the starting from the financial year 2020-2021. This year would be the first year of the filings for MGT 7A. So this would be the first time that the OPCs and small companies would be filing MGT form 7. The annual return filed by a listed company or a company having paid up share capital. There we studied about the paid up share capital being such as may be prescribed and the turnover being prescribed. So what exactly these amounts was? The paid up capital of rupees 10 crore or more, or turnover of rupees 50 crore or more. So there are twin conditions. If it's a listed company, it's mandatory to obtain the certification of this CS in practice in MGT 8. If the paid up share capital is 50 crore or more, or the turnover is 50 crore or 10 crore or more for the paid up share capital and 50 crore or more for the turnover. So in those particular cases, the certified certificate from the company secretary in practice has to be taken in form MGT 8. So MGT 8 is applicable for the listed companies who or the other companies who have paid up share capital and the turnover as given under Rule 11. So Rule 11 says it all for these particular two assertions. We have the second rule, that is Rule 12, that is filing for annual return with the registrar. So this particular rule says a copy of the annual return shall be filed with the registrar with such fees as may be specified in this particular provision. So if we see section 403 of the Companies Act and go by the rules that have been prescribed their form, so there the structure of the fees is given, that what fees exactly is required to be filed. So for a company which has a paid up share capital of up to 1 lakh, it's 200. From 1 lakh to 5 lakh, it's 300. From 5 lakh to 10 lakh, again, it's 400. And 5 lakh to 25 lakh, I guess there is 500. So this way there is a chart that has been given that it is based on the authorized capital of the company, that is the nominal share capital of the company. And according to that, the fee structure has been defined. So whenever we are filing this particular form in time, so we are accruing these particular fees that have been devised or that has been defined in the Companies Act and the rules thereunder. There was a provision in Rule 12 which said that the extract of the annual return to be attached with the board report shall be in form MGT 9. So there was another form that was MGT 9, and this particular MGT 9 was a photocopy of MGT 7. So whatever the disclosures and everything was there in MGT 7, MGT 9 was just a true copy, an exact copy of MGT 7. So MGT 9 was to be like enclosed with the board report, and the board report was to be filed in AOC 4. So what used to happen was that in while filing the AOC 4, we used to prepare MGT 9. The details were same, the disclosures were same, and therefore the government decided to remove this particular provision. And now there is no filing of MGT9 that is required for any kind of entity, because already those details are there in MGT7. So the government has mitigated this responsibility on the professional to file this particular e-form. So now MGT9 is not required as an attachment to the board report, neither it is required as a web link, or there should be given any disclosure in the board report, or this has to be an extract of annual return to be given on the website of the company. All the requirements have been mitigated. So this is a relief for the companies to follow, that MGT9 would not be prepared, and even for the professionals, because it was just a photo copy paste provision, so it has been removed. So no MGT9 starting from the financial year 2020-2021. Moving towards the another rule, which says rule 15 sub rule 3, it says preservation of annual return. So whatever annual returns that we prepare and file, we have to preserve the copies of those annual returns for a period of 8 years from the date of filing with the registrars. So we have to follow this rule like very diligently, that for 8 years, all the records are being preserved either by the professionals or by the company. I should say, and by the company. The professional should also retain the copy, and also the company should also retain the copy for the 8 successive years. Okay, for all the annual returns. There was one more rule. This is not that much important, but if anybody wish to receive a copy of the annual return, so it a member, debenture holder, or other security holder, or a beneficial owner, so he can request that, and as per the articles of association of the company, he can pay the fees which shall not be ₹10 per page, and he can obtain that particular copy by depositing this particular fees from the company. This provision is like, this rule is not much of a substance, because now you can get those copies from the public inspection of the ROC. So just by paying ₹100, you get to have the access of all the annual filings that the companies have done, and even all the forms and the other documents that have been filed by the company. So this is also a very a good provision that has been added up by the MCA, that now you don't have to approach all the companies for the documents, but you can get them online by paying the requisite fees. So this rule 16 is not of much of substance, but it is defined in the Act, so we have covered in the discussion. Now everything related to our first limb, that is chapter 7, that has been done of the Companies Act. Now we are moving towards chapter 22, and it talks about the companies incorporated outside India or the foreign companies. So for them, there is a same annual return structure, but however, the forms and the compliances are a bit different. The governing provisions are for section 384 subsection 2, that is the annual return, and the provision of section 92 and section 135. So these are basically, these provisions are applicable to the foreign companies, subject to such exception, modifications, and adaptation as may be made therein by the rules made under the Act, apply to a foreign company as they apply to a company incorporated in India. So all the provisions that are there in section 92 with regard to the annual return, that shall be made even applicable to the foreign company who are incorporated in India, who are there in India, who operate as a foreign company from India, but their annual return form may be different, or such provisions would come as such exception or modification or any adaptation that would be made. Now, what is the exactly is the adaptation, modification, and adaptation? So in case of specified IFSC private companies, in subsection 2, the following proviso has been inserted, and this has been recently been inserted and made notified. So it says that provided that notwithstanding anything contained in this Act, the exemptions provided under section 92 to companies incorporated under this Act for the purpose of operating from IFSC located in any approved multi-service SEZ set up under the SEZ Act and to the SEZ rules shall apply mutatis mutandis to a foreign company registered under chapter 22 of the Act, which has a place of business or which conduct business activities from IFSC located in approved multi-service SEZ set up under this SEZ Act and the SEZ as Special Economic Zone Rules 2006. So basically, whatever the conditions or adaptations or modifications exist for the companies already incorporated in India and are registered with under the SEZ Act, so all those things would be applicable to the foreign company as well. So this is a slight change in the provision. However, there is no much of difference. Everything is the same. Only the bigger difference is that the annual return form for the foreign company is different. It is not MGT7, it is FC4. And this is what has been written in the rules also. Let me come to the rule of this particular chapter. So it says Rule 7. Rule 7 says every foreign company shall prepare and file within a period of 60 days from the last day of its financial year. So you see the difference first, that it is 60 days from the last day of the financial year, not the 60 days from the date of the AGM. So they are very particular about the closure of the financial year. So in this particular case, if 31st March, say, is the due date, so when this particular form will be filed, it would be 30th of May, with 30 days for February and 30 days for May. So 30th May would be the last date to file for the this annual return within a period of 60 days in form FC4. Foreign companies FC4 is the form number. So what this form looks like will be, I'll just show you when we'll be discussing all the e-forms that are being made available. And everything would work for the foreign companies that are from the last day of the financial year. So all the compliances would be from the last date of financial year, not from the last date of the AGM. So that point is important. So this is done with the foreign companies part as per the statute. Now we are coming towards dormant company, section 455 subsection 5. And this has been defined in the miscellaneous chapter, that is chapter 24 of the Companies Act 2013. So a dormant company shall have such minimum number of directors, file such documents, and pay such annual fee as may be prescribed. Again, we have to move to the rules. Rule 7 also gives the details about the dormant company, and these rules are specific to the chapter. So whenever I say rule 7, so it would be the company rule, and the subtitle would be miscellaneous 2014. And the relevant provision would be there. So for this particular rule, if I talk like rule 7, so where rule 7 is, you can find the rule 7 in the company's miscellaneous provisions rules 2014, and the rule 7 would be there. So you'll find this particular rule for the dormant companies there. A dormant company shall have such minimum number of directors, file such documents, and pay such annual fee as may be prescribed to the registrar to retain its dormant status in the register and may become an active company on an application made in this behalf, accompanied by such documents as may be prescribed. So basically, if we talk that dormant company is a company which is not active, basically it's an inactive company, but it is a company that still exists. That is the major premise, because there may be situations that a company becomes dormant for a time and it is waiting for a particular time in future to operate. And for that particular reasons, it is under the dormant status for now, but in the future it would once again become active. So this dormant company has to file such documents, and these documents are defined in rule 7. So we'll be moving towards rule 7, but let us understand what exactly dormant companies as per the Companies Act. So where a company is formed and registered under this act for a future project, as I said, or to hold an asset or an intellectual property and has no significant accounting transaction, such a company or an inactive company may make an application to the registrar in such manner as may be prescribed for obtaining a dormant status, and it would become a dormant company. Now, what is inactive company? Means a company which has not been carrying on business or operations, or has not made any significant accounting transaction during the last 2 financial year, or has not filed financial statements and annual return during the last 2 financial year. This would be an inactive company. And if this inactive company wants to become a dormant company, so it has to apply for the registrar and the form by filing MSC 1, 2, whatever the forms have been prescribed, and that the status of the company would switch from the normal regular company to a dormant company. So this is all about the dormant company. And now talking about the rule 7. So rule 7 says a dormant company shall file a return of dormant company. So now this is not termed as annual return. However, this return is an annual return only. See, a dormant company shall file a return of dormant company annually, inter alia, indicating financial position duly audited by a chartered accountant in practice in form MSC 3, yani miscellaneous 3, along with such annual fees as may be provided in the company's registration office and fees rules within a period of 30 days from the end of the financial year. Yani this particular period would be 30th of April, because 31st March, we move 30 days ahead. 30th April is the last day to file the return of dormant company. What we come across is, for the dormant company, there is just one return form, and it is a consolidated return form. That is, there is also financial disclosures. Along with that, it is also an annual return. So MSC 3 acts as a twin-way combo between AOC 4 and MGT 7, because it's a dormant company, so no much compliances are required, because the financial or the accounting transactions would be the same. There would be no change in the P&L account. Only the recurring fees like the audit fees and etc. would keep on accruing, but otherwise there won't be any transaction. So for those particular companies, the return of dormant company has to be filed, and the form for the same is MSC 3. What would be the attachments? How would the form look like? We'll see in some time. provided that the company shall continue to file the return or returns of allotment and change in director in the manner and within the time specified. So even if a company is a dormant company and it is making a transaction for its shares purchase or sale, or it is a switch or transaction between the directors of the company where the member of the company is changing, so in those particular instances also the company will have to file for the return of allotment, that is whatever forms have been prescribed in the Companies Act for the same, that has to be filed. This return of dormant company is separate and would continue to remain applicable on the company irrespective whatever transactions are happening for return and allotment for the for this particular dormant company. Okay, so this is all about the Rule 7 for the dormant company. We are moving a little faster now. We are on LLP Act 2008 and also we'll be studying along the LLP Rules 2009. So this is an additional coverage. This was not a part of the webinar, but I added this. I informed Optotax that let us make an annual return complete session for all the body corporates one along. LLP is a body corporate. It's not a partnership firm. First of all, it is a body corporate with a separate legal entity and a separate existence, not like the partnership firm, conventional partnership firm. Limited liability is the major thing that made this entity a body corporate and a limited liability thing. So annual return for the LLP Act also moved towards the LLP Act 2008. There are 14 chapters, Roman 1 to Roman 14. And we see chapter 7 for the same, that it talks about the financial disclosures, and financial disclosures has section 35, which talks about the annual return. So for the LLP, we'll be referring section 35. That likely for the companies, we refer section 92 of the Companies Act. For LLPs, we refer section 35 of the LLPs Act 2008. For the rules, the rules have been described again chapter wise. So chapter 7 talks about the financial disclosures and rule 25 is there for the annual return. So this is the LLP. Chapter 7 says the LLP financial disclosure rules 2009. So you'll find this particular rule 25 in that particular. There are no secretarial standards that talk about the LLPs for now. So that is not a part of our discussion because they are not in existence. So section 35 talk about annual return. So I'll quickly go through the provision. Every LLP shall file an annual return duly authenticated with the registrar within 60 days of the closure of its financial year. Again, the term financial year. So that means 31st March, 60 days plus 30th May. 30th May becomes the last date to file the annual return for the LLP. In such manner as may be prescribed along with such fees. If any LLP fails to file its annual return, again, the provisions for the penalty, there is decriminalization, there is no imprisonment or punishment that is involved for the directors. There are only fines that are involved. So maximum liability is rupees 100 per day, which on a continuous failure becomes 1 lakh for the company, and rupees 50,000 it becomes for the designated partners. For LLP, we don't use the word directors, we use the word designated partners or DTs. So for them, the liability is 50,000 if there is no filing of the annual return, and for the company 100 rupees per day. Now you will see the instances where the fee for filing this particular LLP 11 or the annual return is 50 rupees. And if you miss just 1 day, you have to pay 100 rupees is the penalty. That is 2 times of the regular fees as a penalty. So this is really heavy for an LLP to bear. So you have to be very cautious that you do not miss the due dates for the LLP as well. 100 rupees to 1 lakh and 50,000 for the DTs. Okay, everything about 35 is done. Only this much of the section. We'll be moving toward the rule again, rule 25. Rule 25 for the purpose of subsection 1, every LLP shall file an annual return with the registrar in form 11. So we have 2 forms for LLP, just like AOC 4 and MGD 7. AOC 4 talks about the financial position, and in LLPs we have LLP 8, which talk about statement of accounts and solvency. For MGD 7 in the Companies Act, we have annual return. For LLPs, we have LLP 11, which says about the annual return of the LLP. So this is the distinction. Now, this point is important. The annual return of an LLP having a turnover of up to 5 crores during the corresponding financial year or contribution up to rupees 50 lakh shall be accompanied with a certificate from a designated partner other than the signatory to the annual return, to the effect that annual return contains true and correct information. So if the turnover is up to 5 crores and the contribution, joint contribution of the partners is 50 lakh. So in those particular cases, the certification part has to be done by 2 designated partners. One would be authenticating the annual return and the other would be giving the certificate of authentication for the same. Then all the contents therein are in order. But if in case this turnover or this paid up capital or the contribution limit increases. So in that cases, again, the company secretary in practice would come in place. And in all those cases, the annual return shall be accompanied with a certificate from a company secretary in practice to the effect that he has verified the particulars from the books records of the LLP and found them to be true and correct. So if basically there is a turnover and paid up capital within limit of 5 crore and 50 lakh respectively, so in that case, two of the designated partners would be signing and there would be no need of professional certification. However, if the turnover would be higher than 5 crores or paid up capital would be higher than 50 lakh, then in that particular case, there would be a requirement of certification by a CS in practice. Okay, the fees to be paid to the registrar in pursuance of subsection 1 for filing the annual return shall be as mentioned in Annexure A. And fortunately, I guess I have enclosed the Annexure A. Yeah, I have enclosed the Annexure A also. So it says for filing of the annual return, this would be the fees cycle. So if the contribution does not exceed 1 lakh, it would be rupees 50, 1 lakh to 5 lakh, 100 rupees, 5 lakh to 10 lakh, 150. And if it exceeds 10 lakh, so it would be 200. Now, additional fees, if you file it late, would be 100 rupees per day. So if in case your LLP is covered under point A, so you see that there is a 50 rupee fee for filing the annual return. And if you even get delayed by just 1 day, so 100 rupees is the like 2 times the fees. So that is like unjust or unreasonable for me. But as per the provisions we have to work in for, so the late fees would be 100, and that is why you need to be very careful by filing the annual returns, that you file it within the due time. So that is all for the LLPs. Now let us move to the practical scenario that everybody was waiting for. So annual return forms are required to be filed with the ROC by various entities for the financial year 2020 and 2021. So first form that is coming up is e-form MGT7. So why there is a dot in this annual return, I'll also explain this, but a bit later. So e-form MGT7. Okay, I am coming to this particular e-form now. Let me show you how this form looks like. I guess my screen is visible to one and all. So this is the e-form. Just give me a moment. Yeah, this is the e-form we see pursuant to subsection 1 of section 92 of the Companies Act and subrule 1 of rule 11 of the Companies Management and Administration Rule 2014. We have studied both of these, the section as well, the rule as well. And this is the annual return and it says form number MGT7. So what are the details that are there in the form? We can see one by one. First, we have to enter the SIN number of the companies. It would auto-populate the PAN of the company, the registered office address of the company, the email address of the company, and the date of incorporation of the company. So let me just quickly have one random. This is one random SIN number that I have picked for the discussion today. So let us pre-fill the details. Let us see what happens. So this is Savior Agencies Private Limited. This is the name of the company. So I have taken a random sample. It's not my client or alike. So the information is just it's publicly available information and it is just for the purpose of educating everybody. So now we see that this particular fields are the purple fields. The fields in purple can be edited. So if we can see, so there is name. So if I want to have this private word erased, so I'm able to erase this particular thing. Please confirm that the name entered in the company is on the financial year end date. Now, what I was trying to convince everybody for was that if say during the particular financial year, you have instilled for a conversion of a public limited company to a private limited company. And as on date, the company status has been changed. Like in the current financial year, you made an application on 28th of February 2021. And in the current financial year, that is December 2021, you have complied for all the requirements and your company has migrated from the public limited status to private limited status. Then in that particular case, what you will have to do is you have to edit those particular details, because on pre-fill, automatically the current name as per the MCA database would populate. So in that particular case, you have to change this particular name here. And if it was limited, so you have to make it limited. If it was private limited, you have to make it private limited. So this small change we have to note. And like this is one on all, nobody is looking for the pre-filled fields. Even we are not even checking that whatever data is entered, but MGT7 is a form of a class that every detail is editable. See, the address is also editable. Just have a look. So see, you can enter a new address. If I wish to enter it as Uttar Pradesh, I can enter it as Uttar Pradesh and it will have no problem. See, so what is important is, as on 31st of March, whatever the details were, we have to take those particular details. Say if on 31st of March, the company was operating from Pune and in X block Pune, and in April only, 15th April, say, the company shifted its registered office from Pune X block to Z block. So now in this pre-filled data, the Z block thing would be applicable because you have filed the relevant form for the updation of the information INC 22, and the results would auto-populate. What you have to do is make the correction for the address because it says 31st of March 2021. So you have to enter that particular address, which was as at the end of this date. So this was a major take that I was talking about, that one thing we are definite to learn in this particular session today, that whatever information we have to enter in MGT7, that has to perfectly be related to the year end information, that is 31st March 2021 for the previous financial year. So this address you have to change. If there is no change, we can easily proceed for. If there was change in email address, now the email address has changed, we have to enter the old email address only. Date of incorporation is auto-populated. Type of the company, category of the company, subcategory of the company, this is also auto-populated. Whether the company is having share capital, auto-populated. Whether share listed on a recognized stock exchanges, so auto-populated. Financial year. So this financial year would be 1st of April 2020 and the end date would be 31st of March 2021. So this would be for the previous financial year. Whether annual general meeting held, yes. If yes, date of the annual general meeting. So that becomes, for in my case, say suppose 30th of November 2021 because of the extension. Otherwise, it would be 30th of September 2021. So due date of AGM. So due date is always the actual date that was it scheduled to be, even if the extension is allowed. So that would always remain 30th of September 2021. Whether any extension for AGM granted, yes, for the previous financial year, we know the extension was there. So we have to enter in the yes here. If yes, please provide the SRN. So what we used to do earlier was to enter Z99999 and then pre-fill, and then the form went ahead. But no need this time. You just have to enter the extended due date of AGM after grant of extension. So that is 30th of November 2021. Perfect. We are done with it. And the form would automatically check for the errors and it would get applied for. So there is no bigger change. Just you have to remember, you have to select yes if the extension has been granted and allowed, and you have also took the particular extension for the AGM. So you have to select yes, enter nothing here. And in this particular column, you have to enter the date as 30th of November 2021. So a number of activities. So whatever the activities the company is running, you have to select the relevant code. The information would be as per in there is an e-form kit for MGT7. So e-form kit has a circular, an instruction list, and also the form. So you have to download the instruction list, you have to pick the particular instruction, and you have to start filing the form. So percentage of the turnover of the company is 100% or 20%. If there are more than 2 activities that the company is carrying, you have to select one or more than that. Number of companies for which information is to be given. So this would be 1 or 2 depending again for subsidiary or holding. Okay, so let me quickly, what should I do is I should give everybody an insight on a filled form. So I have a filled form. So let me, yes, this is the filled form. I have hidden the information and as it relates to one of my client, but it would be good for learning purpose. So this is the SIN and everything. This is the address. Again, whatever changes we have to make, I've already narrated. Okay, this is the first page. This is the public limited company for which we are filing. So it is also asking for the SIN of the registrar and transfer because that is mandatory in this particular case. So moving ahead, we see the financial year because it relates to the previous financial year. So the dates are like that because for the current session, we are yet to file this particular form. So the extension was last time allowed till 31st of December 2020. Likewise, I have selected that particular date. Date was 30th of September 2020 as applicable, and extended due date was 31st of December. So this is what has been filed up. Number of business activity, I have selected the required. Okay. as per, and there were no subsidiaries or associate companies. The equity structure of the company, that is how much is the capital, how much is the issued capital, how much is the subscribed capital, paid up capital, this everything you have to enter. Equity shares, how much, the nominal value of the share, how much, and the total paid up value, how much. So all these details have to be given up. The preference shares, if any, in the company, that have to be disclosed for the authorized capital, issued capital, subscribed capital, and paid up capital. Number of class of shares. So if there are classes of share, like there are shares which are 5 rupee paid up, or there are 10 rupee paid up, or 20 rupees paid up, or 100 rupees paid up. So that have to be separately given. Classes of shares for preference shares would be also given, and for unclassified shares or for other type of shares, that have to be given depending upon the type of share capital the company has or it has issued. So breakup of the share capital, total number of shares, total nominal capital, total paid up capital. So this has to also been given. The number of shares into 10 being the nominal value, and total paid up value, how much is the value, like total nominal value would be the paid up value. So again, any public issues that have been done due to which there has been increase in the share capital, or there has been a right issue or a bonus issue or a private placement or an ESOP, or there have been spent equity that have been allotted, there has been conversion of preference share to equity share, conversion of debenture, if any, or any GD or ADR issue that has been done, even that has to be disclosed. For decrease, we talk about buyback, or the shares forfeited, or there is a reduction in share capital. So that has to be disclosed in this particular form. And at the end of the year, the equity capital should match with the corresponding figures in your balance sheet or with the data as per the RTA. Okay, that has to match. Similarly, we'll give it for the preference shares also. At the beginning, at the end, there is any redemption, there is any share forfeited, and likewise. So if there is any information of a stock split or a consolidation, so we talk that there were 5 rupees stock that now becomes 10 rupees paid up stock. So 2 shares become 1. So if there is any such split or there any such consolidation, so you have to state that after split or before split, what was the scenario, how the shares have been increased or decreased, and likewise. Again, we have to talk about details of share debenture transfers since closure date of the last financial year, or in the case of the first return at any time since the incorporation of the company. So details being provided in a CD digital media, if it's applicable, select yes or no. Separate sheet attached for the transfer, you have to select yes or no. Date of the previous AGM or date of registration of transfer, type of transfer, number of share debenture transfer. So this exactly would depend upon the type of the company or the entity you have been preparing this annual return for, and it would be applicable as and when it would be to your specific client company. So in this particular case, these all details are not applicable to my client. So we move towards the other aspect, that is indebtedness, including debentures. So if there is any loan or debentures that have been outstanding at the end of the financial year, this particular details have been given for non-convertible debenture, convertible debentures, secured loans, unsecured loans. So you have to specify the amounts here, total value, because for debentures you have to give units and nominal value. For loans and deposits, you have to give the exact figures here. So the disclosures are important. So now we move towards the other disclosure relating to debenture, that is whatever debentures were outstanding during the year, or you have raised certain money through debentures, or there is decrease during the year, like paid for the debentures and outstanding at the end of the year. So all these details in a consolidated form at the end of the financial year have to be provided for. Securities other than shares and debentures. So there can be stock, or there can be certain other kind of instrument that the company has issued, like convertible bonds or alike. They are not debentures or certain other instrument. So all the details, number of security, nominal value, again has to be disclosed. Now turnover and net worth of the company as defined in the Companies Act, this has to be defined. And the turnover and net worth, turnover definition we have already studied as a section 2 subclause 91 was there for turnover. And the net worth of the company, that is the combination of the shareholders fund, that has to be given up for the company. The disclosures are required and mandatory here, because it's, and you can see the asterisk red, so you have to disclose this particular amount, and you have to check the balance sheet for the same. Shareholding pattern, we have to show for the equity and preference both. And if it's between the Indians, so how much are the Indians, how much are the individuals, how is the government, insurance companies, financial institution, who is holding how much. We have to give the number of shares and the percentage for the same. So that would get automatically calculated here. And at the end, total, how much are the shares that are held by such particular entities. If others, if we see that it is saying promoters here, so yeah, here we will be giving all the information related to the promoters. And at the end of this particular page, we'll see total number of shareholding promoters. And now there would be shareholding patterns of public other than promoters. So if there would be other than promoters, like the common public who has been holding shares, or they are relatives of the promoters, or they are not linked to the promoters, friend or allied members. So all the details pertaining to the numbers they hold for the equity share or the preference share of the company would come up here, and the relevant percentages. So what you have to make sure is, after you have entered all the figures, the total should be 100%, like the number of capital should match up for the entire year. Total number of shares other than promoters 23. Number of shareholders. So we have to enter number of shareholders here. Total number of shareholders, promoters plus public. So we see other than promoters there were 23. So and including promoters is 26. So 3 being the promoters who are the major shareholders of the company. Promoter details at the beginning of the year, how much were they? At the end of the year, how much were they? Members, if there has been a switch, you have to like earlier were 23, now are 26. So you have to enter this particular details. Also, you have to ensure that your previous details as per the previous annual returns are matching with the at the beginning of the year, because that was the closure for the previous year. So exactly you have to pick those particular figures, and for the end of the financial year, you have to enter the new figures, whatever they be. Now we have details about the directors and the KMPs. So you have to enter who were the directors, how much were the director, what was the capacity of the director, was he an executive or a non-executive director? If there has been change, you have to suggest the change. Number of directors if added, percentage of shares they hold as directors in the company, if any. So you have to also give them. So the promoters, 3 in this case, hold 79.04, and they are all executive directors in the company. So we have shown it respectively. We have to show it for non-promoter, non-independent, independent, bank, NFIs, investing institution, government, and likewise. So all these disclosures would be relevant. Now the number and of directors and KMP who is not a director as on the financial year end date. So as on the closure of the financial year, we have to state who are the directors, what is their DIN or PAN. So you have to give the DIN, and there would be a pre-fill button. So the details would auto-populate, number of equity shares held by them. So you have to enter these separately. Date of cessation, if that is applicable, like if any directors are left during the particular financial year, so you have to give the particular disclosure there. Okay. So again, particular of change in directors and KMP during the financial year, we have to give the disclosures. If there is any AGM that has been convened, we have to give the particular disclosure. So a member class requisition, NCLT court order convened meetings, number of meetings held, we say yes, type of meeting we say yes, and AGM. So this AGM relates to the previous financial year because it is held in this current financial year. So we have to give the particular disclosure of the same. So we are filing this particular form for 31st of March 2020. So this AGM happened on 30th of September. So we are giving, this forms the part of 1920. So we are giving the disclosure of the previous meeting in this particular financial year, and this happened likewise. So how many members attended, how many were the members who were present, and what was the shareholding held by them, we have to give the details. Board meetings that were held during the previous year, all the board meeting details we have to give, number of meetings held, number of directors, percentage, we have to specify how much were present, how much were absent. You must be like seeing what detailed disclosure this form takes. The committee meetings that have been held, like there is an audit committee meeting or a CSR committee meeting that has been held, how many members were there, how many were attending. Attendance of the director, again a sheet has to be given, like how many were the meetings, number of meetings the person has attended for the board meeting. For the committee meetings, is there, what is the percentage, if the AGM has been attended by him or not, so that has to be also be given. Then the number of remuneration, what is the remuneration that has been paid to the particular director, to the CEO, to the company secretary, and to the other directors, and the remuneration that has been, so remuneration sheet has to be complete in full. Then whether the company has made the compliances and disclosure in respect of applicable provisions of the Companies Act during the year, so yes or no, or if there is a no, what are the observations, you have to state those observations. Then penalty sheet, like whatever the prosecution or penalties were applicable to the company during the previous financial year, that has to be disclosed, date of order, NCLT order or ROC order, whatever it was. So that these particular details have to be given in full. You have to state all those. Whether complete list of shareholders, debenture holders has been enclosed in this particular attachment. So one attachment is for sure, that is list of shareholders and debenture holders, and it is a mandatory attachment. Compliance of subsection 2 of section 92, this we have studied for the listed companies, it was there, like the requirement of furnishing MGT 8. So if it is applicable for such class or classes of company, that was 50 crores for the turnover and 50 lakh for the capital, paid up capital of 10 crore or more, or turnover of 50 crore or more. So if these two conditions are getting fulfilled, or it's a listed company, MGT8 is required. So the name of the practicing professional who has given the certificate, that has to come up. The certificate has to be also attached. And then you have to enter that who is signing this particular annual return, and who is authorized to do so by the resolution, and when was that particular board resolution passed. So you have to enter that particular date, attach the signatures of that particular director, enter the DIN, attach his DSC, and then you have to submit this form. If there is applicability of a company secretary, there is a company secretary in the company, then by him. Or if there is no company secretary, that then by a company secretary in practice, his membership number, his COP number. And as an attachment, we can see list of shareholder, debenture holders. This has to be particularly be attached. Approval letter for extension of AGM. In this particular cases, the previous financial year and this financial year, it was applicable. So we have attached that particular order. Now, where you will find this for this particular financial year, we'll talking about the same. Copy of MGT8, if it is applicable, we have to attach an optional attachment. If there is any optional attachment that has happened during the previous financial year, there has been conversion, there has been change of address, and you want to let the ROC know in particular, and you want to keep your stance bona fide, so you can attach all those particular documents in here. So this is all about MGT7. You have to check form, you have to attach the signatures, you have to click on pre-scrutiny, and you're ready to upload the form. So this is all about MGT7. We are done with MGT7 in detail. I guess we are not going to spend much time on MGT7A because it's an abridged form. However, I will definitely show you like whatever the things are there in 7A. So we have already studied for the attachments in MGT7A. First is MGT8. Second is list of shareholders, then approval letter of extension, and the approval letter can be downloaded from this link. You can also search extension order of ROC on Google and you'll get the link, or if there are optional attachments. I'll quickly show you like how this particular information is coming up on the MCA website. So see, there are state-wise extension orders that have been there. If you see of Uttarakhand, West Bengal, Delhi, Haryana, Coimbatore, Bilaspur, and all other states, you can see it there because it was given state-wise by each and every ROC as they have to give it. So this is there. You can download this particular order and you can give it. Just for the sake of reference, I am showing you the order for Delhi and Haryana. It was issued on 23rd of September. So you can see that this is the order and you have to attach this particular copy with along with the MGT7 this time. Okay. So this is for the particular thing we are studying. Okay. So we are done with MGT8. Give me a second. I'll show you MGT8. So this is from the company secretary in practice, certificate by a CS in practice. So it stated that he has examined. This is a notified format. Only you have to check for the particular compliances. The CS would check for the compliances, and then he'll fill up all the information, put there if there is any deviation or any assertion that is required to be denoted. If the compliance is in total, he has to check that all the compliances are in place. And after that, he'll just prepare quickly, sign it and give it to the company, furnish it to the company. And this has to be attached with the MGT7 that is to file. That this is form MGT8 pursuant to section 92(2). For listed companies or such class, 50 crore, 10 crore was the limit. Okay, so this is the MGT8. So all the attachments we have also seen up here. Let's move quickly to the other second e-form, that is e-form MGT7. So this is the new e-form, that is the abridged e-form that has came up this time. Here we see basic details are the same. We see abridged annual return for OPCs and small companies. So only OPC and small company can file. And if your OPC was so on 31st of March of that previous financial year, that is 2021. So only then you can file this particular form. Otherwise, if you were not a small company or OPC in the previous year, or you are small company this year, for the previous year, you have to file MGT7 and you have to change those particular details as I have shown. You'll have to edit those fields, okay, for the name, also for the name. So these are the basic details. This page is exactly the same. If you are an OPC or a small company, you have to enter in here. Financial year, AGM, due date, extensions, order, extension order, you have to attach for. You have to give the details of the business activity, and if there is any joint venture or associate company, you have to give the disclosures. Then again, this particular section is also absolutely same. Convertible debentures, non-convertible debentures, if there is any, if there are any partly issued debentures, if there is any other security, turnover, net worth of the company, promoters at the end, at the beginning, type of meeting if it was held, board meetings again, attendance of directors, number of their remuneration chart, Okay, then the compliances have been done if there is any deviation, punishment against the company, and then finally the declaration part. And you see there is no professional certification, there is no sign of company secretary or company secretary in practice, because for this particular form, it just requires a certification by the director itself. So they have not even mentioned if it's a company secretary, there is a company secretary. So in the capacity also, then on as per the form, we see that the director would be signing this particular form, and he has to attach the list of shareholders, debenture holder, list of directors. Now this is a new thing, list of directors has to be uploaded in this particular form for sure. Approval letter of extension, and if there is any optional attachment. So more or less the same thing, just for the certification part we can see, and it's a abridged form, no much detailed disclosures are required. Attachments, again, I have already listed all of them. Approval letter also I have shown you from the Delhi ROC. Now quickly see the e-form FC4, that is annual return of a foreign company. Like what exactly this particular e-form is all about. So this is a like a slighter deviation, because the disclosures are like that only, like whatever is applicable to the foreign companies. So I'll just quickly show it up to you. Wait a second. Okay, so this you have to enter the FCRN number. Now, instead of SIN, there is FCRN, because for foreign companies, we have a foreign company registration number. So you have to enter again, the address would come, whether part of register of members is to be kept in India, the address is the all the business activities contributing 20% or more of the total turnover of the companies, because it's a foreign company. So if there is any activity that is contributing 20% or more of the total turnover, that has to be enlisted separately in here. ठीक है, number of such entities, if there is any subsidiary relationship, you have to enter in here particulars, debentures, class of companies, number of ADRs and IDRs, because this is something that is a foreign company is relating to, and it will issue IDRs here, as we issue ADR and GDR outside India, so they will issue IDRs here. So all the information with regard to the paid up share capital, the class of shares, the number of shares that are held, the IDRs, the called up capital, the paid up capital, detailed disclosures would come in here for the class of shares. And again, what is the shareholding pattern of the company, how much is held by the promoters, the government, the nationalized venture, mutual funds, foreign entities. So that has to be enlisted, and in total the debentures, that class of debentures, the securities, and again there is any indebtedness, the loans, the interest payable, whatever are the dues amount, and there are a list of attachments. You have to attach promoter, KMP director, KMP list, detail of director and KMP, and their remuneration sheet you have to attach, as there is no specific requirement or space given here for writing the remuneration. In NGT 77A we see a specific class, a specific section, but here it is not there. The details of meeting or members or class of board meetings that have been held. So foreign company, whatever the meetings are held, you have to give the details and the attendance sheet. Also, you have to give the particular of member and debenture holders. So that becomes the same. Punishment, again, if there is any, you have to attach optional attachment. And finally, you have to get the same sign from a representative of the foreign company in India, or if there is any other person, like if there is a company secretary there, so he can also sign, and you can mention the specified details, and he can submit the form. There is no professional certification again in FC4. So this was a quick review of FC4, because we are already running late, so I'm going a little right on time. So attachments, already we have seen all. So there are details of promoter, details of director, details of meeting, and everything. MSC3. Now MSC3 is for the return of dormant companies. Quickly, I'll tell you the attachment first. There are just 2 attachments, not more. Optional is there, copy of board resolution showing authorization given for filing this declaration, and duly audited statement of financial position. That is the balance sheet that you'll have to take it from the auditor of the company, because it's a company. So statutory audit is applicable as per the provisions of the Companies Act, but there won't be any transaction, as there is no accounting transaction in the dormant company. So for dormant company, you have to furnish these particular 3 things. I'll quickly show you the format of the board resolution as well. So this is the board resolution, private company. This is the meeting. So we severally authorize all the directors of the company to digitally sign the MSC3. That's it. There is no more disclosures that are required, and it is prepared and it is attached with this form MSC3. Now for MSC3, if we see like how is the form, let me show you a filled form only. So that would be this is MSC3. SIN number you'll enter, the details would auto populate. The number of meetings, the financial year to which it relates, okay, the details of the company, the details of the management, is there have been any maintenance of books of records or payment to fulfill the requirements, or payment of fees to the registrar. If there are none, leave it. Purpose of allotment, if there has been any allotment made during the year. Particular of annual fees, enter the amount to be paid along with the form. Whether significant transaction is carried out, no. and shareholding pattern you have to give, like who all are holding this particular share, and you are done. See, if it's a 3-page form, it's a 3-page form. First page says everything about what is covered in MGD 7 or 7A. Second page is about the shareholding pattern or allotment sheet. And third is the attachment. Attachment is BR. BR is attached. I have already shown you duly audited balance sheet, statement of financial position. So balance sheet and PN. And it has to be signed by the director of the company, resolution, or by the company secretary. If there is a company secretary, by him, or if not, then by a director. If the certification is applicable for a practicing professional, you have to also attach for the certification. And in this particular case, certification is applicable always. So you have to get it signed from a CA or a CS or a cost accountant. So all can sign this particular form and get it approved. So this is for MSc 3. We are done with nearly all for the entities. I guess LLP is left now. So for the LLP, let me quickly show you. There is just one attachment. It is for the detail of LLP and or company in which this particular partner or DP is a designated partner. So we have to give a disclosure of the person being a designated partner in any entity or another LLP. So that particular disclosure would be given. How this it looks like, let me tell you. Detail of directorship, partnership of Mr. whatever the name of the director or the designated partner is, as on 31st of March 2021. This we have to show. We have to enter the SIN or LLPIN of the entity or the LLP or in which he is a director or a partner. Name of the company or LLP, we have to enlist that. Designation if he's a director or a designated partner, the date, the place, and his sign along with his DIN or DPIN. So we have to prepare this and attach it. That's it. There is no attachment to LLP 11. So let me show you a filled format of LLP 11 again, because that would be easier. It's again a very simple form. Financial year for which relevant, like the start date of the from which the annual return is prepared. So that becomes 1st of April 2020. So this is a filed form basically for the current, because the date has already gone for the LLPs. It was 30th of December. So this is a filed form. Again, you will enter the detail, pre-fill. All the details would be auto-populated. Business, service, business class, auto-populated. Everything would be auto-populated. Total number of DPs, total number of partners, if any. DPs are different, partners are different. So we have to check for the difference between them. The contribution, the total contribution, we have to set whatever is the contribution that has been given by the designated partners or partners. We have to write that. Again, we have to give disclosure of the persons who have been partners. So you'll enter the DIN number or the DPIN number, and the details would get auto-populated. And whatever their contribution is, you have to mention that, and the date of appointment, everything would get auto-populated. So in which he's a partner or a director, otherwise than this particular partnership, this has to be given, and the attachment would be the same that I have shown. Okay, in this particular case, there was also cessation. So we have mentioned in for the cessation also that there was a cessation of particular partner during the particular previous financial year, and this obligation for contribution goes 0. And now he's currently not a partner in a partnership LLP, but he's a director in one of the company. As on close, he was during the financial year this happened. So we have given the particular disclosure. And for the third partner, the second or the third or whatever be there. If it's a body corporate, you have to give that body corporate is a partner. So you have to give the details of the body corporate, the amount held, etc., etc. Then you have to give how many partners were resident in India, how many of them were not resident in India. So you have to give the details likewise. Again, if there is any penalty or there is any punishment that has been imposed on the company LLP, you have to give the detail. Whether turnover of the LLP exceeds 5 crore. If it's yes, you have to give up for the certification. If it's a no, then no certification by a company secretary. You can give the certification from a company secretary only, from a director, so the second designated partner only. So there is no much of a difference. Attachment is only in trust of partners, so there is no other attachment that is applicable. You have to get it signed from one designated partner, and if the turnover and contribution limits are meeting, like it is below 5 crores and it is below 50 lakh, so you can get it signed from the second designated partner here, or a company secretary if they are increasing. So the certificate can be given either by the second designated partner or by a company secretary. So either way it can go. You have to check for the relevant limits. Okay. So we are finally done with all the forms. I guess we have given sufficient time to them. And if there are any specific queries, I am ready to take them. So let's focus on some keynotes for the previous financial year. I guess the numbering has been disturbed, but no problem. So no additional fees for filing e-form MGT7 or MGT form MGT7A as applicable for the financial year 2021 up to 28th of February 22. So 28th February, you all can file this particular e-form without incurring any substantial fees or any additional fees. So that would be there with the normal fees itself. So this has been extension, and this has been given by the general circular. So that was issued. One was General Circular 11/2021 for the LLPs. The date has already gone, as it was 31st of August 2021. Normal date is 30th of May, as already I conveyed. But for this particular financial year, it was previous financial year, it was extended till 31st of August. So now if you're filing for LLPs, you'll be incurring a late fees of ₹100 per day. So for this MGD 77A, there is no late fees up to 28th of February 2022 via General Circular number 22/21. So you can refer these circulars. They are available on the MCA portal. OPCs and small companies shall file their annual return in e-form MGD 7A for the financial year 2020-2021. Now, applicability of this OPCs and small company has to be checked as on 31st of March 2021. So you have to see if those particular companies or OPCs were the same as on 31st of March 2021. If the condition is met, you can file MGD 7A for them. There is no need for professional certification then. Okay, so this is for them. The paid up capital and turnover limits for small companies has been enhanced with effect from 1st of April 21. Thus, for the financial year 2020-21, the existing limits shall prevail. So the existing limit, as I conveyed everybody while we were discussing, so whatever the previous limits were, like 50 lakhs for the paid up capital and 2 crores for the turnover, so that remains applicable. Now the revised limits are much higher. For the capital, it is 2 crore. For the turnover, it is 20 crores. But that is applicable from this particular financial year, that is 21-22. So we have to check for small companies relating to the previous limits, that is for 2021. And accordingly, we have to decide that whether we have to file MGD 7 or MGD 7. Last but not the least, there is no requirement to furnish MGD 9. It has been done away with starting from the financial year 2020 and 21 and onwards. So no MGD 9 for any type of entity. We are not going to file it even for the public companies, for private companies, for OPC, small companies. No disclosures, no website link, no extract of annual return. Absolutely. So these are the keynotes you wish to note for the particular financial year 2020-2021. And with this, I guess we are ready for the question answer session. I end the discussion for the today on this note. I'm sure we have learned something about much in detail about the annual return component that seems small, but is really big. So you have to focus this time when filing these return forms that we attach all the particular disclosures and details and information that have been there in that particular return forms. Open to your queries now. Rohit, you can also come up. Thank you, Optotax, for inviting me. You can have my details noted up here. You can contact me over mail, or you can drop me a WhatsApp on this particular number, and I'll be more than happy to help you out. And if there are any queries, like while we are here, I can definitely take a few if there is no limitation on the time, because I guess we have already extended the timeline and there were no much of slides. There were just like a few slides that were there. I prepared just 35 or 36, but I guess in discussion, it takes a really lot of time while we are discussing. So yes, thank you so much, everybody.
And, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Ujjwal sir. Thank you so much. And I guess there are some questions in the chat box. If you are willing to take, then we can have some time for them.
Yes, sure. Let's take it.
Yeah. So we can have a look at chat box. There are some questions waiting.
1 second. Give me a minute. There are a host of questions. So let me go on a LIFO basis. So can we have a session on producer company registration in future? Oh yeah, sure. Future sessions can be anything. You can contact Optotax for the same. As and when they can call me for the particular session, I'll come up. Okay. Let me thank you so much who all are appreciating me for the session. I guess this was all possible because you were all listening properly. There are details that I've given you about the details as they exist in the Companies Act only, with a much detailed version and along with the demo. So I guess the demo portion was my favorite. So this would have held up everybody. Sir, can you please repeat how to check on MCA extension of AGM order for different states? Oh, I'll give you the web link for the same. It is not much of a thing. You can enter ROC extension order AGM on Google, and the first link is the working link for the same. Anjali. So you can see that particular thing. And if you are still not able to, I'll ask Optotax to upload this particular presentation copy along with the in the YouTube description only. So you can check it out from here or from the Optotax website. Okay, and can you explain the sign of company secretary in MGT7? So, Rohit, this was a bigger question, I guess, and you are a CS also, so you must be interested in this a lot. So, what happens is if you are filing an MGT7, so now we have specifically got MGT7 and 7A. So, there are two forms. So, we are very clear about it. Whenever you are filing for MGT7, professional certification is mandatory. There is no chance that you will skip for the professional certification this time, either by a company secretary in employment or by a company secretary in practice, depending upon whether the company has a company secretary or not. If it's an MGD 7A, then there is no certification. So company secretaries have been, the certification has been done away for. So a specific classification by 7 and 7A was added. So there is, I guess, automatically this thing of whether we have to sign this form or not, this has been mitigated. Otherwise, what we used to do previously, every professional was clicking the pre-scrutiny sign. भाई अगर हो गया तो हो गया और नहीं हुआ तो we'll attach the sign. So that was the thing that was happening in past, but not from this time. And if you see the detailed provisions, if that are there in the Companies Act, I've already explained everything that where we need this certification and where not. So if you are covered, then you have to, and if you are not, then you are saved from the certification. I'm talking with the company's respect. Okay, I guess this is clear enough. Meaning of contribution in LLP. Okay, so Sanjay Singh, when we talk about company, so in company we have equity share capital. So that is the shareholders fund. So against a share, you give, you take from a person a particular amount, like say suppose at rupees 10, and give him one share of the company. In LLP, we talk about what we talk about in partnership. That is the word contribution. So whatever the partner as a person is bringing into the company, the LLP, that becomes his contribution to the LLP, and he can, and the LLP can be maximum be penalized or be liable to pay such particular amount to any third party. So contribution is just like share capital only, but the only distinction being that there a share is given, a share is offered, and in LLP the percentage of the ownership is offered. So that the term is contribution in this particular LLP, and for the company it is share. Sir, can the date of signing of financial statement and AGM fall on the same day? That is, in case of shorter notice, should it be mandatorily 7 days or can be lesser time period? If so, any specific compliances to be done? Date of signing of financial statement and AGM fall on the same day. This otherwise is not possible. If you see that date of signing has, how will you give this shorter notice to the this equity shareholders? 21 days is required, but you are saying that if you are in case of a shorter notice, it could be mandatorily 7 days. You have to give up a sufficient time to the shareholder to at least study. I mean, how can you just give the same time for the AGM and financial statement? So even fundamentally it would go wrong. So you cannot do this particular thing, or lesser period. Yes, you can definitely do 21 days. That is not a problem, but same date is absolutely not going to happen. Kindly confirm for how long the session will go. Even we are not sure about it. Whether MGT7 applicable for small company? No, for small company we have MGT7A. However, you have to check your company was a small company as on 31st of March 2021. If it was small, MGT7A. If it was not small, then MGT7. Anything else? What is the meaning of previous year? Here it is AY 21-22 or earlier. AY 21-22 becomes financial year 2021. So we were talking absolutely for the previous year, 2020-21. And for the turnover thing, you have to check in for 1920, wherever you are seeing the turnover for the same. Okay, for company. What other questions? I guess I've covered all. Shareholding details are to be reported as per 31/3 of the year or as on AGM date in MGT. Everything as per the year end date, that is 31st of March. Nothing as per the date of the AGM. Okay. I guess we have completed due date for MGT 7 and 7A. I already said it is 28th February for this particular financial year, for the previous financial year. So 28th February is the last date. However, don't wait. Start to file and complete your filings. The forms are absolutely working right. Okay. Whether annual return is applicable in case of LLP. Yeah, LLP 11 is there. Whether it is mandatory without any limit. It is a mandatory compliance. You have to file it every year, year after year. Most welcome. What is one question? Okay, one company was having the turnover of 15 crores in FY 1920, so the company will not be a small company for the financial year 2021. Which form is applicable? I guess you know it better than me now. MGD 7, because it's not a small company, the 7A is not applicable, so you have to go in for 7. While pre-filling the company details in MGT7, the message is coming that you need to file MGT7. Okay, so this is a problem that has been coming with many professionals, and it was coming with me also some time back. Lately, I checked for this particular thing, and the problem has been absolved. But if in case your problem is still persisting, what I advise you to do is you take a screenshot of that particular error, write a mail, raise a query to the MCA help desk, and explain that particular query to them. They will reply, and if they reply, you have to file 7A. You have sufficient compliances, you have sufficient proof, you have sufficient thing to furnish that why you have filed 7A, however you were to file MGT7. So you do this particular thing, keep a screenshot, write a mail to MCA, your stance would be bona fide. Okay, so there won't be any problem on your case. Sir, we will register LLP, but don't do any business. Sir, if any person register LLP, but don't do any business, even then the annual compliances are mandatory. LLP 8 and 11 is a mandatory compliance. You have to do it. 2 returns to be filed, Form 11 and Form 8. Right. Absolutely right, Vipulji. 2 company. Then liability of a director. Liability of a director in what cases? In case is not filing the return or the company is not filing the annual. There is a liability. You can see 50,000, 5,000. Most welcome, Anjali ji. It was really. Please explain dormant company definition. So dormant company is a company that is an inactive company who is not conducting any business, not much accounting transactions. You will have to have the same balances, the same everything. Just you can pay for the expenses like for the audit fees and etc. Otherwise, there would be no business that would be in instance. Last 2 year annual financial statements have not been filed by that company, becomes an inactive company by default, and you have to take a dormant status for the same company. So you have to get a registration for a dormant company. Your active company has to become a dormant company. Sir, if any person register LLP but don't even do business, even don't open a bank account, even in that particular case, LLP 8 and 11 are required, and in that disclosure you have to disclose that we have not opened the bank account and the contribution have been bought in cash. There is nothing that stops you from bringing the contribution in cash for an LLP. For a company, you cannot bring that. Okay, for an LLP, you can. So you can do this. However, opening of a bank account is very much essential. You should contact those particular partners and ask them to open it immediately. If I incorporate a company as on 25th, whether I need to file MGT7 and MGT9 for FY 2020 and 21, not at all. You can file this particular thing for a period of 15 months in total. So you can file MGT7. MGT9 is not required. Why have you written MGT9? It has been done away with from the financial year 2020-2021. So MGT7 and AOC4. Yes, you can skip this for this particular financial year. You can file it for the 15 months directly. That is starting from 21st of March 21 till 31st of March 2022. You can file a consolidated sheet. Sheikh Nihal. I guess we have covered all the questions mostly. If there are any that are left, I'll be taking up them on mail, or you can also contact me on WhatsApp. And we'll be taking future sessions also with Optotax, so there won't be any problem. Okay. I'm available on all social media channels. Last question. Okay. Form 8 and Form 11 not filed 2020, then liability. Liability 100 rupees per day, keep on continuing till the end. And 100 rupee per day, it will go up to like lakhs. So you can instill the penalty that how much is, and don't wait for LLPSS. One time it was there, it won't come again. Trust me. It will come after 10 years now, as per my understanding. Okay, so thank you so much, Optotax. Thank you so much, Rohit. I guess I've not taken up much time. We have made it 2-hour session. Yes. I mean, it's a surprise.
But obviously it was worth it. So
yeah, it was definitely. We were.
This is not me saying. I have seen so many messages praising you in the chat box. So it walks the talk. Obviously, it's saying there's no need for me mentioning it was a good session, because I have seen so many of these appraisals. So now I'm speechless about that. So thank you so much, Ujjwal sir.
Thank you so much, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you, Rohit. Thank you, Optotax, once again for inviting me. And in future, we'll have much more sessions. Thank you so much. Jai.
Thank you for this insightful session. And obviously for all the professionals, as you all know, budget is set to be presented on 1st of February. So we are planning, because of your love and support, to come with a session on budget on 2nd of February. So those who want to register can please register it. The link you can get it on the Optotax channel. We'll be providing it to you, and we'll be shooting our marketing messages as well for that. So again, thank you so much. Please stay connected. Keep using Optotax. Be safe. Be healthy. Bye bye and good night.